Chapter 1196. In the center of the second layer of the secret realm, the core formation demonic cultivators of the blood-refining sect and the yin-yang sect were slowly flying above the unknown abyss. This was a barren valley with broken restrictions and broken rocks scattered everywhere. Apart from these, there was only the thick red mist. The mist at the bottom was much thicker than above the abyss, and its corrosive power was also much stronger. However, for the elite disciples of the two sects, the combined demonic barrier could easily resist it. Batian was in the center of the group. Threads of black demonic light flashed in front of him. They intersected with each other to form a circular map of the valley. He looked around and finally looked at the top of the map. There was a blood-red light flashing there. He said in a low voice, "Apart from that strange stone forest, we've checked the bottom of the abyss. There are no demonic beasts, no strange restrictions, and no devil-refining cave or demonic arts pavilion. It seems that we have to take the risk and enter the stone forest to search," Dai Ming said with a serious expression. "Although the stone forest is only 2 or 3 miles wide, it's the source of the blood mist in the abyss. The corrosive power of the mist alone is twice as strong as the outside. The blood mist and the strange demonic beasts have the same source of energy. If all the demonic beasts are inside, I'm afraid we won't be able to move freely." At this point, he stopped talking. At the edge of everyone's vision, there was a blood-red light. As they got closer, they realized that the blood-red mist had reached a very dense level. From the dense mist, they could barely see the shadows of various stone pillars. It was like the giant mouth of a prehistoric beast, emitting a bloody and dangerous aura. Batian waved his hand, and the map in front of him turned into specks of demonic light and disappeared. He looked into the distance and said, "Fellow Taoist Dai, didn't we discuss this? We'll set up a formation outside the stone forest and slowly go deeper. If there aren't many demonic beasts, we'll go all out to kill them. If we can't defeat them, we'll retreat to the edge of the stone forest and use the formation as a base to recover our demonic power. We'll take turns to defend." Dai Ming frowned. Although he still felt uneasy, he had to enter the stone forest to find the demonic arts pavilion. Setting up a formation outside was the safest method. It had been a month since they entered the abyss. Only this stone forest, which was emitting a dangerous aura and occupied a small part of the bottom of the abyss, they didn't rashly enter. The other areas of the abyss had been explored twice and were barren. They only dared to explore this stone forest after making sure that there were no devil zombies or devil beasts in other places and that they wouldn't be attacked from both sides. Dai Ming thought for a moment and said, "If the bottom of the abyss is the Chaos Valley, then the arrays in the valley are all broken. I'm afraid the same is true for the restrictions in the demon cave. Perhaps there are demon beasts and demon zombies in this stone forest. Among the demonic beasts, there are those abnormal ape-man monsters, and from the battle 300 years ago, there are still 2 top-level demonic zombies left. Together with the demonic zombie leader, their combined strength is too terrifying. Just the defensive formation alone is not enough. Our sect has also brought along the yin-yang revolution formation. With the help of a few disciples, it has a powerful illusory ability that can even confuse nascent soul cultivators. It should be very effective. Unfortunately, the corrosive power of the mist in the stone forest is too strong. The formation cannot be concealed and will continue to be damaged. Otherwise, the safest way would be to set up a formation one step at a time." Batian's expression was more serious. "Then let's set up a few more formations. There's no rush to go deeper. The restrictions are intertwined. If the enemy is too strong, we'll use the power of these formations to fight. We're outside the stone forest. Let's get ready." As they spoke, the group had already landed a few dozen feet away from the stone forest. After a simple discussion, they began to set up the formations. In this trip to the secret realm, the 7 Fiends sect had already disappeared. Although they had joined the body refining pavilion, an unfamiliar demonic sect, the 3 sects had formed the Southwest Chamber of Commerce together. They were considered allies and would not kill each other. The yin-yang sect and the blood-refining sect, in order to fight against the powerful body-refining pavilion, showed signs of working together and trusted each other. Both sides didn't hold back. They laid down almost all of the advanced formations they had brought with them. Outside the stone forest, a barrier of light several hundred feet in diameter was formed. Inside the barrier, there were all kinds of complicated fluctuations of restrictions. As the disciples activated the array formation token in their hands, the restriction fluctuation trembled slightly. Then, it gradually disappeared without a trace. Lei Batian and Dai Ming's expressions relaxed a lot when they saw this. With the high-grade formations of the two sects combined together and under their control, even an early nascent soul cultivator would be killed if they entered. Even if the demon zombie leader was in the stone forest, it couldn't be stronger than a nascent soul cultivator. Form the formation from before and enter the stone forest. The disciples of the two sects gathered together again and formed a barrier of demonic light. They slowly flew into the stone forest. As soon as they entered the dense fog, all of the disciples could clearly feel the degree of corrosion increase. They could even hear the sizzling sounds of the demonic barrier. Moreover, the suppression on their spiritual sense was even greater. They could only barely sense a few hundred feet away. As everyone entered, Lei Batian, Dai Ming, and the other peak core formation disciples gradually felt an invisible pressure. They felt a little depressed and only felt a lot better after circulating the demonic power in their bodies. On the other hand, the disciples with lower cultivations didn't feel much. Everyone, be careful. There's movement in front. Suddenly, a few disciples of the Yin-Yang sect in charge of scouting cried out in alarm. Lei Batian didn't dare to be careless and decisively said, "Junior brothers, activate your defensive secret techniques." As soon as his voice fell, everyone's black demonic barrier quickly turned blood red. It seemed to have merged with the surrounding fog, and a profound aura circulated above it. Accompanied by heavy sounds of friction and footsteps, 9 gray-black figures rushed out of the fog and appeared in front of the disciples of the two sections. Everyone focused their eyes and discovered that there were 9 demonic beasts. Each of them was different. There was a huge lizard covered in scales, a demonic wolf that was several feet tall, a huge bear that was incomparably muscular, a ferocious tiger that was covered in steel spikes, and even a wild boar with huge tusks. Although these demonic beasts were of different races, the scales and hair on their bodies were all gray-black. At the same time, there were bone spikes on some of their joints, making them look extremely ferocious. The blood-red fog didn't seem to be harmful to them at all. Some of them even deeply inhaled the fog, as if it were air. Lei Batian frowned and said, "Fellow Taoist Dai, these are the demonic beasts of the demonic beast garden? Why are they different from what you said? They don't have human body parts." Dai Ming looked at the huge lizard and said with a heavy expression, "This demonic lizard is almost identical to the ones we encountered except for the color of its head and scales. Although I don't know why they turned into wild beasts, they must have come from the demonic beast garden. It's best to be careful." While the two were talking, these demonic beasts also saw the people inside the blood-red barrier. They seemed to have found some delicious food. Their eyes lit up with a bloodthirsty red light, and they rushed towards the group. Roar! Illo! Accompanied by fierce roars, the 9 demonic beasts emitted a strange demonic aura. Each of them was no less than the late core formation realm. There were even a few that were at the peak of the core formation realm. Dai Ming narrowed his eyes and said, "There must be more of them. Let's end this quickly." Lei Batian looked at the incoming demonic beasts and said in a deep voice, "Attack according to the plan." As he spoke, except for the 8 disciples of the blood-refining sect who were maintaining the defensive barrier, the other 12 demonic cultivators all took out their artifacts and rushed forward. They had an absolute advantage in terms of numbers. 9 demonic beasts at the peak of the core formation realm were nothing to be afraid of. The 10 artifacts seemed to have found their targets. They scattered into 9 streams of light and whistled as they went to meet the demonic beasts. Chapter 1197. These people's magic treasures were scattered, each facing a different demonic beast. However, Lei Batian and Zhou Yu's magic treasures both rushed towards the demon lizard with the strongest aura. A broken axe and a long sword intertwined in mid-air, and the combined momentum was astonishing. The 3-meter-long demon alligator looked at the incoming magic treasures, and the red light in its eyes became even more dazzling. Its body sank, and its 4 thick legs stomped on the ground. A terrifying brute force surged out, and 4 small pits were blasted out. The huge body of the demon alligator suddenly soared into the air, dodging the attacks of the 2 magic treasures. Indeed, its mental state is low. It doesn't have the slightest bit of skill and directly exposed its weakness. Seeing this, Lei Batian and Zhou Yu sneered. They changed their hand seals, and the broken axe and long sword that were dodged by the demon lizard were the first to turn around and attack its exposed abdomen. At this moment, a layer of black light film suddenly appeared on the surface of the demon lizard's gray scales, and an invisible wave spread out. For a moment, the air around the short axe and long sword became viscous, as if they had fallen into a quagmire, and their speed was greatly reduced. At this moment, the demon lizard squatted down again, and its thick limbs stomped on the ground, twisting the air under its feet into a blurry arc boom. A sharp sonic boom was heard, and the seemingly bloated body of the demon lizard sprang out in midair. Its speed was even faster than when it was on the ground, and the 2 magic treasures missed again. Boom, boom, boom! The demon lizard seemed to have raised its head, and sonic booms came from all directions. The other 8 demonic beasts also soared into the air, and they were also wrapped in a layer of black light film, and the air around their bodies was distorted. The formless void was like solid ground, and it gave these demonic beasts an amazing reaction force, greatly increasing their explosive speed in short distances. They dodged the magic treasures and rushed towards the group of demonic cultivators. As these demonic beasts ran in the air, a suffocating wave spread out in the stone forest. Everyone unconsciously had goosebumps, as if their bodies had encountered some kind of natural enemy. Dai Ming looked at the black light membrane outside the demonic beast body and sensed some familiar fluctuations in the air. He immediately associated it with the scene from 300 years ago. He revealed an incredulous expression and said, This is the demonic zombie leader's divine ability." Although his expression was ugly, his reaction was extremely fast. As he spoke, he and Yufian formed a mysterious seal at the same time, and 2 extremely deep auras rose from their bodies. At the same time, the black and white dual blades that were attacking the other demonic beasts shone brightly. They fused with each other and turned into a black and white short blade, disappearing in a dazzling spiritual light. In the next moment, it appeared right in front of the demonic lizard, as if it had teleported. The demonic lizard didn't seem to have expected such an unforeseen event. Facing the magic treasure that was right in front of it, it had no time to dodge. However, at this moment, a black membrane of light and an invisible fluctuation appeared in its bloody mouth that was filled with fangs. The dagger magic treasure seemed to be obstructed and stopped slightly. In the distance, Dai Ming and Yufian's faces sank. The 2 of them changed their hand seals, and 2 nascent soul stage powers burst out from the black and white daggers at the same time. A terrifying aura shot up into the sky. Gee! The black light and invisible fluctuation in the demonic alligator's mouth shattered like a mirror. The black and white dagger blasted into the demonic alligator's mouth, and the huge lizard's head exploded like a watermelon, splitting into a pile of flesh and blood. The huge corpse fell to the ground. Dai Ming and Yufian only took a few breaths of time to deal with the demonic alligator. When they saw the other party fall, they were stunned. Although the demonic alligator was supported by the strange nascent soul stage power of the demonic zombie's head, its defensive power seemed to be much weaker than the top demonic zombie. At this moment, Lei Batian also came back to his senses. He hurriedly said, "Junior Brother Zhou, use the demonic seed bead." These demonic beasts have the nascent soul stage power of the demonic zombie's head. Only the same level of power can resist it. Junior brothers, maintain the defensive mystic technique. We will retreat to the array formation outside the stone forest. The others will try to slow down the demonic beasts as much as possible. Although they killed the demonic alligator, Libation's face was still pale. These demonic beasts were supported by the strange nascent soul stage power, which meant that the demonic zombie's head was very likely behind them. They couldn't continue fighting. The other brothers obeyed his order and moved. They all knew about the demonic zombie's head and knew how terrifying it was. 300 years ago, just 2 top demonic zombies supported by this mysterious power were enough to give the disciples of the 3 demonic sects a headache. Now, there were so many demonic beasts with the same power. Coupled with the unknown, terrifying existence, they were in an extremely dangerous situation. Everyone's joint escape light quickly retreated. The demonic cultivators in charge of attacking gave up the power of their magic treasures and used their magic power to speed up. They tried their best to catch up with the demonic beasts whose speed had greatly increased. They fought with them and tried to slow them down. As for Zhou, he was already holding a black demonic bead in his hand. A terrifying demonic aura poured into his body, and a long sword magic treasure he controlled became more powerful. He joined forces with Dai Ming and Yu Fian's magic treasures to attack a huge demonic boar. The demonic boar seemed to know the power of these magic treasures. The black light film on its body flickered incessantly, and the surrounding air rippled. Its fat body flashed nimbly in the air. It was unknown whether it was because of its weight or some other reason, but its short-distance burst speed was much slower than the other demonic beasts. It was only able to dodge a few times before it was hit by 3 magic treasures. After a while, the black light film on its body was broken. Its fat body was blasted with several holes by the magic treasures that contained the power of the nascent soul stage. Its body trembled a few times before it fell to the ground with a plop. In a short time, 2 of the 9 demonic beasts were killed by the 3 people who erupted with the power of the nascent soul stage. However, the magic treasures of the other demonic cultivators were not powerful enough. When they occasionally bombarded the demonic beasts, the impact was first reduced by an invisible wave and then blocked by the black light film, causing no damage. After Zhou and the other 2 killed the demonic boar, they did not dare to be negligent. They controlled their magic treasures and rushed toward the fastest demonic wolf. Violent energy surged crazily. After several rounds of crisscrossing, the lower half of the demonic wolf was blasted into a pile of scattered flesh and blood. Only 6 of these strange demonic beasts were left. The focus of the blood-red barrier of the 2 demonic cultivators was defense, so its speed was not fast. At this time, the distance between the 2 sides was reduced to 20 feet. Libation's mind was locked on a spirit beast pouch at his waist. He looked at the edge of the stone forest that was getting closer and closer and said in a deep voice, "The physical strength of these guys is amazing. They are even faster than magic treasures in short bursts. We can't let them get close. Junior Martial Brother Zhou, fellow Taoist Dai, please add the power of the nascent soul stage to the escape light. We can use the formation to deal with the enemies." Zhou and the others had the same idea. Although the defense of these demonic beasts was not as good as the demonic zombies, the power of the nascent soul stage was limited. It was best to conserve as much as possible. As the 3 deep demonic lights poured into the blood-red barrier, the speed of the group increased greatly. Soon, they entered the formation that they had set up before. When the remaining 6 demonic beasts saw this, they let out ferocious roars and rushed over without hesitation. After a while, all kinds of multicolored restriction lights flashed outside the stone forest. The demonic cultivators of the 2 sects took out restriction tokens and used the power of the formation to deal with these strange demonic beasts. Libation and the others looked at the stone forest with vigilance, guarding against the legendary demonic zombie leader. At the same time, the headless demonic lizard, the demonic boar with several holes in its body, and the demonic wolf with only the upper half of its body lay quietly on the ground of the stone forest. The surrounding red mist seemed to be attracted by something and gradually gathered towards them. After a while, a layer of slightly dim black light surged out of these corpses. The lifeless limbs suddenly twitched. Chapter 1198. Rumbling noises came from the Black Formation. The disciples of the blood-refining sect and the yin-yang sect were attacking the remaining 6 strange demonic beasts with the help of the formation they had set up earlier. As soon as these demonic beasts entered the formation, they were surrounded by a black fog that contained a powerful restrictive force. Apart from the dark demonic lightning, the fog was also mixed with strange demonic sounds. Even a late core formation cultivator's mind would be filled with demonic thoughts when they encountered these sounds. However, these 2 restrictive forces had limited effect on the demonic beasts. When the dark demonic lightning approached the blurry force field, it twisted and fell into empty space. The demonic thoughts didn't seem to affect the demonic beasts' minds. The bloodthirsty light in their red eyes didn't change at all. They stared at the core of the formation as if they could see where the demonic cultivators were. Although the formation's illusions and offensive abilities were ineffective, the demonic mist's restrictive force reduced the demonic beast's speed by more than half. They couldn't dodge the attacks like they could outside and were bombarded by the magic treasures. Although the formless force field on the surface of their bodies could block spells and abilities, it gradually fell into a disadvantage when faced with the continuous barrage of magic treasures. The black light film dimmed and finally disappeared from the surface of the demonic beast bodies. After losing this layer of unique energy, the demonic beast's defensive power was greatly reduced. Soon, a demonic tiger's fur was broken and a large hole appeared in its neck. It fell to the ground, but strangely, no blood flowed out from the wound. The death of a demonic beast meant that several demonic cultivators were freed. The remaining 5 demonic beasts were in imminent danger. At the core of the formation lay Batian, and the other 3 nascent, soul-level demonic cultivators didn't attack. Instead, they stared cautiously at the stone forest. After the demonic beasts entered the formation, they were no longer a threat. The legendary demonic zombies were the ones they needed to be careful of. Dai Ming was still looking at the demonic beasts in the formation. He muttered, "Strange. 300 years ago, when we encountered the demonic beasts, they appeared in groups of different races. Why are there 9 different races now? Part of the human's body disappeared. The terrifying demonic ape also disappeared. This is too strange." Lei Batian stared in the direction of the stone forest. He glanced at the array and said, "Taoist Dai, you're still paying attention to these demonic beasts. They have the energy of the demonic zombie leaders. The change must be related to the demonic zombies. Those terrifying humanoid monsters are what we need to guard against." At this point, his expression suddenly changed. "Be careful. Something is coming out of the stone forest." Hearing this, everyone looked towards the stone forest. From within the blood-red mist, a huge figure dashed out. It was a strange creature with a pig's head. Behind its head was a lizard's body that was more than 10 feet long. Its grayish-black scales were covered with hair that looked like steel spikes. Its 4 thick limbs were similar to that of a demon lizard, but they were taller than before. Its 4 limbs were triangular, like the enlarged claws of a wolf. The pig-headed monster's eyes were different from other magical beasts. It did not emit a bloodthirsty red light. Instead, it flashed with a human-like luster as it stared in the direction of the disciples of the 2 sections. Being stared at by this pair of eyes, everyone felt goosebumps all over their bodies. They felt a chill run down their spines. What is this thing? Pig's head, lizard's body, wolf's claws, and wolf's fur. It looks like the combination of the 3 dead magical beasts. Weren't they killed by Senior Brother? Why is it still alive? Oh no, its speed and strength are even greater. While everyone was still in a daze, the pig-headed monster had already charged into the spell formation. Its body flashed with a black membrane of light. The invisible force field seemed to be flowing, and the demonic mist did not seem to be able to slow it down. Seeing this, Dai Ming said in a low voice, "You guys continue to deal with the remaining magical beasts. Leave this monster to me and Junior Sister." As he spoke, two flying daggers, one black and one white, shot into the distance with a dazzling light. The power of the yin-yang nascent soul within the daggers exuded an astonishing aura. Seeing the ferocious attack, the pig-headed monster's pitch-black eyes narrowed slightly. A surge of blood energy surged within its body, and its bloated body suddenly shrunk significantly. It became more muscular, and the muscles under its scales and fur became more plump. Then its forelimbs kicked off the demonic mist around it, and it changed its direction. At the same time, it dodged the two flying daggers. "It's going to save the other magical beasts," Zhou Yu exclaimed. He decisively summoned his long sword Dharma treasure, and with the unique pressure of a nascent soul, he joined the battle. When Dai Ming and Yu Fian saw that the pig-headed monster had dodged the attack, they simultaneously formed a seal with their hands and used the combined blade theurgy from before. The two Dharma treasures instantly merged into a black and white flying dagger. It disappeared on the spot, and, as if it had teleported, it appeared beside the pig-headed monster and blasted towards the side of its body. Unexpectedly, the monster's intelligent eyes flashed with a hint of disdain. It continued to run in the direction of the other magical beasts, as if the attack was nothing to it. Before Dai Ming and Yu Fian could rejoice, they felt the resistance of their Dharma treasures. The invisible force field on the surface of the monster's body seemed to have become much stronger. However, with the support of the yin-yang nascent soul, the flying daggers still managed to break through. However, at this moment, the grayish-black scales under the black membrane of light suddenly swelled up and doubled in thickness. Boom! Violent energy surged in all directions, and the demonic fog within a few feet of the array was cleared. The black and white flying dagger that contained the power of a nascent soul cultivator was repelled. However, the pig-headed monster only staggered a little before continuing to run. The bulging scales on the side of its body disappeared again, and it seemed to be unscathed. This defensive power, Dai Ming and Yu Fian were shocked. However, they were experienced demonic cultivators after all. They continued to use the power of the yin-yang nascent soul in their bodies. The black and white flying dagger flashed again and appeared in front of the pig-headed monster, wanting to attack its head. At this moment, Zhou Yu's longsword Dharma treasure, which contained the power of a nascent soul cultivator, rushed over. Boom! An even more terrifying shockwave rolled out, and the pig-headed monster was thrown to the ground by this terrifying power. However, after a few groans, it flipped over and stood up. The protruding scales on its forehead were slowly fading away. The defensive power of a nascent soul cultivator, this combined body, is so powerful. It repelled our Dharma treasures, and its physical strength has increased. While everyone was still in shock, Lei Batian suddenly said, "Its physical body has shrunk. It seems to be sacrificing its flesh to increase its defensive power." Dai Ming and the other two were stunned. They were focused on attacking just now and did not notice. Now that they took a closer look, the pig-headed monster's body had indeed shrunk by one size. The surging power of blood chi had also weakened. In other words, if they continued to attack, they would be able to wear down the monster's flesh. At this moment, the demonic cultivators around them cheered. It turned out that the remaining demonic beasts had all fallen to the ground under the combined efforts of everyone. Dai Ming's spirit was lifted. The other demonic beasts are all dead. Let's save the power of our nascent soul cultivators and wear it down together. When Lei Batian heard this, a thought flashed through his mind. If the pig-headed monster was formed from the combination of the dead demonic beasts, then if the other demonic beasts died, be careful of the corpse transformation of the dead demonic beasts. Just as he said this, the smaller pig-headed monster came to the side of the corpse of the demonic tiger. It swung its thick lizard tail, and the corpse flew toward the pig-headed monster. At the same time, the corpse shriveled up at a speed visible to the naked eye and turned into a pool of dark blood that entered the pig-headed monster's mouth. Roar! An excited roar sounded. The pig-headed monster swallowed the pool of blood, and its body seemed to have received some kind of nourishment. The muscles under its scales swelled up, and even its head became rounder. More fangs grew out of its mouth, and the sharp claws on its limbs doubled in size. It can absorb the corpses of demonic beasts to strengthen itself. Everyone was shocked to see this scene. "Stop this monster!" Leibatian roared as a jade talisman appeared in his hand. He activated a trace of blood essence and began to chant an obscure spell. The other disciples reacted quickly. Some of them summoned an even thicker demonic mist to envelop the area. Some of them used the power of the spell formation to separate the corpses of the demonic beasts. Boom! Dai Ming and the others launched another joint attack. However, the pig-headed monster's speed and defense had increased. It endured the attacks and grabbed another corpse. Just like before, the corpse was turned into a pool of blood and was swallowed by the pig-headed monster. The monster's body became huge and solid again. A terrifying aura of blood chi surged into the sky. At this moment, Leibatian's spell was completed. Accompanied by a terrifying aura, a pitch-black demonic hand appeared on top of the monster's head. Rumble! The demonic hand was like a small mountain. It pressed the monster's huge body to the ground, creating a shockwave. Leibatian's body trembled. His eyes were bloodshot as he said, "This is a demonic blood hand that Elder Lu used as secret technique to seal. I can't control it for long. Let's destroy the other demonic beast corpses first. We'll deal with this monster later." The others did not dare to delay. They rushed toward the remaining 4 corpses with their Dharma treasures. The corpses seemed to have sensed something. A black light film appeared around the corpses. They broke free from the spell formation and flew up on their own. "Oh no, kill them quickly." One by one, the Dharma treasures slammed into the strange corpses with great power. Boom, 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 violent shockwaves rolled in the spell formation. Under the power of the Dharma treasures, the remaining 4 corpses were torn apart. Before everyone could heave a sigh of relief, Zhou seemed to have discovered something. He exclaimed, "There's something else." Within the gray dust, a lump of dark flesh was wriggling rapidly. It turned into a blurry figure half the height of a human and shot out at an astonishing speed. What the hell is that? A nascent soul? How can there be such a big nascent soul? It looks like a physical body. It's rushing toward the monster. Stop it. Everyone controlled their Dharma treasures and spells. However, the flesh figure was extremely agile. There is also an invisible force field around its body. Even the Dharma treasures that contain the power of a nascent soul were deflected by this force. Soon, the figure arrived outside the demonic blood hand. With a splash, it separated into a lump of blood and slid into the demonic hand through the gaps between its fingertips. Chapter 1199. As the flesh and blood seeped in, Leibatian's demonic hand suddenly trembled violently. The incomparably deep demonic power within seemed to have been shaken layer by layer, and the surrounding black demonic mist began to tumble outwards. At the same time, streaks of multicolored restriction energy appeared in the surrounding air. These restrictions flickered wildly as if they were under great pressure. The demonic cultivators at the core of the formation were all shocked to see this. A few of them hurriedly injected demonic power into the restriction medallions in their hands. Boom! However, in the next moment, the huge blood devil's hand and the spiritual light of the restriction that was on the verge of collapse shattered with a loud rumble. Turbulent waves of air swept out in all directions. The ground seemed to have been struck by some kind of terrifying brute force, and it shook violently. The surrounding formations were the best of the best from the blood-refining sect and the yin-yang sect. They were powerful enough to withstand the might of a nascent soul cultivator, but they were broken in an instant. Looking from afar, an empty sphere with a radius of 100 feet appeared in this vast formation. The shattered restrictions and demonic mist were squeezed out of the sphere. When the 2 demonic sect disciples saw this, they unconsciously swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Their eyes flashed with horror. According to their understanding of formations, even an early-stage nascent soul cultivator might not be able to do this. What was that human-shaped flesh and blood just now? How did these demonic beasts come back to life? Why were their corpses able to fuse and erupt with such terrifying power? These questions flashed through everyone's minds. For a moment, the formation became silent. Thump, thump, thump. A few powerful heartbeats suddenly sounded in the air. It was like the sound of heavy drums hammering on one's heart. An incomparably terrifying aura appeared in the surroundings, making it difficult to breathe. Immediately afterward, a surge of blood-chi energy, as deep as the ocean, soared into the sky. The shattered spiritual light in the empty area of the formation was squeezed out, and an incomparably huge figure gradually appeared. This was a monster that resembled a human. Its entire body was covered in grayish-black scales. It was more than 10 feet tall, and apart from pig ears, wolf nose, tiger teeth, and cow horns on its round head, the rest of its appearance was that of a human. It even had a head of short black hair. Its waist was even wider than a water tank, and it looked a bit like a hybrid between a bear and a lizard. At the front of its thick, scaly limbs were sharp claws with 5 fingers that resembled human hands. A thick lizard tail swayed behind its back. Different from the pig-headed monster from before, this humanoid monster's eyes were murky. The color of its pupils kept changing between blood red and black. Its eyes were filled with bloodthirst, chaos, desire, pain, and other complicated emotions. The moment this monster appeared, the air within a radius of 10 feet started to distort. It was as if a circular energy field was being pulled back and squeezed within 3 feet of the monster's skin, forming a blurry energy layer. Boom! Suddenly, the monster's thick tail swung in the air. Accompanied by an ear-piercing sonic boom, the huge monster rushed toward the group with a violent wind pressure. The surrounding black demonic mist was squeezed away when it was 3 feet away from the monster's body. It was almost unable to stop its charge. Moreover, this invisible energy seemed to have a terrifying offensive power. Wherever it passed, the hidden restrictions flickered incessantly, as if they would explode at any moment. The group of people hundreds of feet away hadn't even seen the appearance of the monster before they saw it rushing over. They were all scared out of their wits. This terrifying speed was several times faster than the demonic beast from before. They even felt that the light of a nascent soul cultivator wasn't as fast as this monster. A distance of 1,000 feet would be covered in an instant. Array formation. Le Bâtien roared. At some unknown time, a 9 feet tall giant figure had appeared in front of him. Its entire body was covered in purplish-black scales, and there were fierce bone spurs growing out of its joints. It was Qian Jingshan's demonic zombie. The chief disciple of the blood-refining sect bit the tip of his tongue and stimulated a mass of blood essence to form a special blood seal. He then injected it into the head of the demonic zombie. The demonic zombie's originally closed eyes suddenly opened, exuding an extremely cruel gaze. Then, accompanied by the sound of tearing air, the demonic zombie rushed out with astonishing speed. Le Bâtien sat down cross-legged and muttered incantations. His hands continued to form seals, as if he was using some kind of magic to control the demonic zombie. Seeing this, the others let out a sigh of relief. The demonic zombie's speed was comparable to the monster's, and its body was incomparably tough. It could withstand the attacks of a mid-nascent soul cultivator. With such a meat shield in front of them, their safety was greatly increased. Everyone began to move. The people of the Yin-Yang sect controlled the power of the array formation. The 8 disciples of the blood-refining sect formed a defensive square. A blood-red barrier containing nascent soul aura appeared. Dai Ming, Yu Fian, and Zhou Yu didn't care about conserving their nascent soul energy. 2 short knives and a long sword exuded a powerful pressure as they rushed out with the demonic zombie. Bam! The 2 huge bodies collided with each other, producing a heavy sound of collision. A turbulent wave of air surged in all directions. Unexpectedly, the humanoid monster only staggered and stopped its body. However, the demonic zombie's purplish-black body was sent flying. It was like an ant trying to shake a tree. It didn't have the slightest strength to resist. The originally high morale of the demonic cultivators were all stunned when they saw this scene. Le Batian, in particular, revealed an expression of disbelief. This demonic zombie was the subbody of the first Elder's demonic chiliarch art. Although the cold, demonic energy in its body had dissipated before entering the secret realm, it could still fight against 8th or 9th grade demonic beasts with its physical body alone. How could such a powerful existence be sent flying just like that? Just how terrifying was the power contained in this humanoid monster's body? The humanoid monster didn't continue to charge. It tilted its head and twitched its wolf nose. When its gaze fell on the demonic zombie's body, the red and black light in its eyes suddenly flashed violently. Roar! It raised its thick hands and hugged its head. Under its scales were bulging muscles. It seemed to be in extreme pain. A moment later, the black light in the monster's eyes shone brightly, suppressing the red light. Its fang-filled mouth suddenly spat out a hoarse and pained voice. It's you, all of you deserve to die. Immediately after, a black film of light flashed over its body. Its body suddenly shrank, shrinking from its original height of over 10 feet to 7 feet. With a plop, it landed on the ground for midair and extended its right claw. 70 to 80 feet away, the demonic zombie that had just stood up suddenly stopped moving. It kept its arms and legs together and kept struggling. There seemed to be an invisible force binding it in the air. This force surpassed its brute strength. Without the help of the cold, demonic energy, it couldn't break free. At this time, Zhou Yu and the other two immediately reacted. 3 dazzling magic treasures rushed towards the monster's head. Dai Ming clearly remembered that the weakness of the monsters in the demonic beast garden was the humanoid head, but who knew that the monster would stretch out its other claw. The 3 magic treasures were locked in place 100 feet away. They fiercely trembled in midair, as if they were bound by an invisible force, just like the demonic zombie. The monster waved its thick arm and threw the 3 magic treasures that contained the strength of a nascent soul towards the group of demonic cultivators as if they were trash. Zhou Yu and the others were sweating profusely. All of their demonic energy and nascent soul strength surged as they tried to control the magic treasures. But the strength of the throwing magic treasures exceeded the limits of their demonic energy control. Bang! The array formation outside the core of the array formation was directly shattered, striking the blood-red barrier behind it. The 2 nascent soul-level powers were in a deadlock. Only then were the 3 people able to barely control the magic treasures. Everyone was stunned, not daring to believe the scene in front of them. The strength of this monster far surpassed their imaginations. It was absolutely more terrifying than the demonic zombie. What the hell is this thing? Its strength is at least equal to a 9th-level monster beast. It doesn't fear the strength of a nascent soul. It has all sorts of strange supernatural abilities. The strength of both sides isn't even on the same level. After the humanoid monster threw the magic treasures, an invisible force forcefully bound the demonic zombie in front of it. Its thick claw pressed against the zombie's head. Streaks of dark liquid flowed out of its fingertips like nimble little snakes and entered the demonic zombie's mouth, nose, and ears. This scene made everyone's scalp tingle. Senior Brother Lei, don't worry about the demonic zombie. Our lives are more important. With this kind of strength, even the nascent soul elders in the sect might not be a match for it. Le Batian was a little hesitant. If they escaped just like that, not only would they fail the Grand Elder's mission, but they would also lose his clone. But then, he felt the connection between him and the demonic zombie rapidly weakening. He clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. Let's retreat. Everyone felt as if they had been pardoned and quickly got into formation. The disciples of the Yin-Yang sect made a hand seal at the same time. The restriction that covered 1,000 feet suddenly exploded. Amidst the explosions, the disciples of the 2 sects turned into blood-red lights and shot up into the sky. Chapter 1200. At the bottom of the abyss, The multicolored restriction light flickered incessantly, recklessly releasing the power of the explosion. Suddenly, the broken restriction light felt some kind of powerful pressure and was squeezed into arc-shaped sonic clouds, violently surging in all directions. A huge figure soared into the sky. It was the humanoid monster. Its thick limbs were like a reptile as it ran through the air. Its tail constantly slapped the air behind it, causing the air around it to constantly distort. It was like the solid ground was providing it with a counterforce as it chased after the group of demonic cultivators. However, the demonic zombie that Le Bâtien had released had disappeared without a trace at the same time. The blood-red mist that permeated the abyss seemed to be attracted by something and surged towards the monster's body. The disciples of the two sects, who had only flown a few thousand feet, saw the monster running through the void as if it were flat ground and were as fast as lightning. All of them were terrified. These people had detonated the formation in order to buy time, but who would have thought that this guy would directly rush out? In the absence of the formation's obstruction, its speed was even more astonishing. Their escape lights were enhanced by the power of 3 nascent souls, so they were a bit faster than ordinary early nascent soul cultivators. However, compared to the monster, they were 10 to 20% slower. The distance between the two sides was only a few thousand feet. It wouldn't take long for it to catch up to them. This monster's strength was comparable to that of a mid-nascent soul cultivator. As long as it got close, this barrier, which barely had the defensive power of an early nascent soul cultivator, would not be able to withstand a single blow. What do we do? It's about to catch up to us. Senior Marshall Brothers, do you have any other nascent soul techniques? Even nascent soul cultivators are no match for this monster. Let's split up and run. Maybe we'll have a chance to survive. Bullshit. If we split up, our speed will be greatly reduced and we'll die faster. Le Bâtien's expression became more and more unsightly as he listened to the crowd's clamor. He could no longer sense the demonic zombie's aura. The fact that the secret technique to control the demonic zombie was broken in such a short time meant that the other party's soul was also very powerful. Are we just going to wait for death? Wait. At this moment, Le Bâtien suddenly discovered something. Did you guys notice that this guy's body has shrunk a lot? Hearing this, the others all looked back. It's true. The pig-headed monster seems to have sacrificed its flesh to increase its defense. When this guy was controlling the demonic zombie and the magic treasure, his body shrank to 8 or 9 feet. Now he only looks 7 feet. Could it be that this monster's ability consumes flesh and blood? Hey, when it flies, its body also seems to be shrinking. This reduction is too small. We can't outlast it. Dai Ming narrowed his eyes and glanced at the blood-red mist surrounding the monster. He pondered and said, "The mist here contains blood chi energy. It's pouring into the monster's body, as if it's replenishing its energy. If we escape from the abyss, and there is no blood mist outside, the consumption of its flesh and blood might be greatly increased." When the others heard this, their spirits were lifted, and a glimmer of hope flashed in their eyes. Le Bâtien said decisively, "Junior Marshall Brothers, I will lend you a hand and transfer the energy of the defensive barrier to the light to increase its speed." Dai Ming also ordered, "Disciples of the Holy Church, add magic power to the escape light. Now, we can only exhaust it." "Yes, senior brother." The 20 demonic cultivators moved. They used all kinds of abilities to increase the speed of the escape light, including the energy from the blood-refining sect's defensive secret technique. The escape light was strengthened by 4 nascent souls. With the help of 8 disciples of the Yin-Yang sect, they sacrificed their defensive power to increase their speed by 20%. They were even slightly faster than the monster. The distance between the two parties was maintained at about 1,000 feet, and it was still slowly widening. Even so, the demonic cultivators did not dare to be careless. Their current speed consumed a lot of their magic power. Only by escaping from the abyss and confirming the rate at which the monster's flesh and blood was being consumed would they have a chance to survive. Just as everyone's speed increased, the humanoid monster raised its head. Apart from the black light in its eyes, there was also a hint of blood red. Shaking its head, it suddenly opened its bloody mouth and took a deep breath. Its body, which was like a water tank, suddenly shrank by a size. Roar! Accompanied by a heaven-shaking roar, a dark mass of flesh and blood shot out from its mouth. This mass of flesh and blood seemed to be driven by some kind of terrifying power. It tore through the air and flew out at an astonishing speed. At the same time, it wriggled and gradually turned into a streamlined shape. It looked like a tongue, and there was a layer of invisible force field floating on its surface. Not good, quickly dodge. The group of demonic cultivators couldn't help but exclaim. They didn't expect this monster to have a long-range attack. Why didn't it use it in the formation? Sensing the terrifying speed of the flesh and blood tongue, Dai Ming's face sank. The escape light swayed left and right in the air, trying to change direction to dodge. Unexpectedly, the twisting force field around the tongue flickered and changed direction. This piece of flesh that was spat out by some kind of huge force could change direction on its own. Damn it, we can't dodge it. Change to defense. Lei Batian roared. As he spoke, the demonic energy within the bodies of the blood refining sect disciples revolved. A blood-red barrier appeared around the escape light. Just as they finished doing all this, the flesh and blood tongue rushed over. The flesh and blood inside twisted and turned from soft to hard, turning into a dark bone spike that pierced into the defensive barrier. Boom! Everyone felt an unparalleled and terrifying force rush over. The nascent soul-level defense was not worth mentioning at all. This bone spike was like a drill. It tore through the defensive barrier and squeezed in. Then it trembled and exploded. An invisible force field mixed with a large amount of flesh and blood fragments exploded from inside. The rapidly escaping escape light came to an abrupt stop. Everyone felt as if they had bumped into a mountain. The protective barrier shattered one after another. The flesh and blood rushed towards them. Like blood and water, it directly melted on the surface of their skin and entered their bodies. What the hell is this? My flesh and blood. Miserable cries rang out. The bodies of the demonic cultivators that had been invaded withered and melted like candles, turning into pools of blood. Among this group of people, only Zhou Yu, Dai Ming, and Yufian activated their nascent soul power in time to protect their bodies and barely block the power of the explosion. But outside their barriers, many pieces of flesh and blood wrapped around them. Creaking sounds could be heard as if they were gnawing at their demonic energy. What frightened them even more was that the flesh and blood contained an invisible force field. Although there was no pressure, it sealed the space and made it impossible for them to use escape techniques. As for the others, including Lei Batian, they turned into pools of blood and floated in the air along with their clothes and magic treasures. With this delay, the humanoid monster had already arrived at their position. Its appearance had changed again. Its thick waist had shriveled. Its height had not changed, but its body had become much slimmer. It did not pay any attention to the terrified trio. It took a deep breath, and the 17 balls of dark red blood converged towards its bloody mouth. As the blood flowed in, the blood-red light in the monster's eyes quickly faded, gradually turning into pure black pupils. In those pitch-black eyes, there was confusion, reminiscence, pain, and other complicated expressions. After a long time, it returned to its normal state. Then, the monster looked at the 3 survivors. It stretched out its right hand, and a terrifying fluctuation spread out in the air. The protective spiritual light around Yufian's body trembled violently. The tall female cultivator screamed in horror, "Senior brother, save me." But Dai Ming's eyes flashed, and he did not do anything. In the next moment, the shield that contained the power of the nascent soul stage shattered. Yufian's tall and exquisite body floated in front of the monster. Her head was pressed by the thick and sharp claw. An incomparably vigorous power of divine sense gushed out from the flesh and blood palm. Dai Ming's face turned pale when he felt this divine sense fluctuation. He did not dare to move at all. The monster was clearly using a nascent soul cultivator's unique soul-searching technique. With a chi, the soul-searching technique seemed to have triggered some kind of restriction. Yufian's delicate head suddenly exploded and her divine sense aura dissipated. The humanoid monster was slightly stunned. Then, it opened its mouth and spat out a ball of dark black liquid. The corpse of the female cultivator from the yin-yang sect condensed into a pool of blood and was sucked into its mouth just like the others. Then it waved its hand, and the storage bracelets around it floated over. A dozen milky white jade pendants floated in front of it. When the humanoid monster saw the two words Yuan carved on the jade pendants, its expression became complicated. It was dazed and seemed to be lost in its memories. After an unknown amount of time, a hoarse male voice suddenly came out of the monster's mouth. It had a strong sense of vicissitudes. 300 years, a whole 300 years have passed. I didn't expect this cage to open after such a long time. If it had been any later, the divine sense of my flesh and blood clone would have been completely devoured by bloodthirsty's will and disappeared from this world. As it spoke, a strange fluctuation radiated from the monster's body. The pieces of flesh that wrapped around Dai Ming and Yufian let out a cheerful whistle. They landed on the monster's scales like swallows returning to their nest, and then disappeared. He looked at Dai Ming's face, and the vicissitudes of life came out again. "Little guy, I have some impression of you. You appeared outside the Devil Refining Cave 300 years ago." When Dai Ming heard this, he seemed to have thought of something. His eyes flashed with disbelief. He looked at the monster in front of him and stuttered, "You know, Senior, you're that demon zombie leader?" Chapter 1201. When the humanoid monster heard the words Devil Zombie Leader, a trace of sorrow flashed through its eyes. It ignored Dai Ming's words, and there seemed to be a trace of guilt in its expression. After a moment of silence, it said, "Junior, let me ask you, how many core formation stage devil cultivators entered the secret realm?" Although he used the soul-searching technique on Yufian, he accidentally touched upon the core information of the yin-yang sect when he was searching for the secret realm's entrance and exit. This triggered the oath restriction in her soul, causing her soul to dissipate and die. Therefore, he didn't obtain much information. Seeing that the monster didn't deny it, Dai Ming didn't dare to confirm it. After all, the monster's appearance was completely different from that of a devil zombie. When he heard the monster's question, he hurriedly replied, "Senior, in the second level of the secret realm, apart from the devil cultivators from our two sects, there are 4 sword cultivators from the body refining pavilion and 6 loose cultivators." As he spoke, he was extremely nervous. This monster's actions seemed to be similar to the legendary zombies that like to devour the flesh of humans. Could it be that it wanted to devour all the cultivators in the secret realm? Then wouldn't it be impossible for him and Zhou Yu to survive? Body refining pavilion? The humanoid monster was stunned. Its tone was filled with astonishment. What sect is that? Could it be a sect that specializes in cultivating the body? Dai Ming replied, "Yes, Senior. The disciples of the body refining pavilion cultivate a body refinement technique that has never appeared in the cultivation world before. It's rumored that high-level body cultivators can resist magic treasures with their bodies. Their battle prowess is astonishing." The humanoid monster muttered, "Body cultivators. Could it be that the cloudy body refining technique has been leaked?" As it muttered, the invisible force field around it surged again. Dai Ming felt an endless pressure coming from all directions. His expression instantly became extremely frightened. "Senior, please spare." In the next moment, Dai Ming's nascent soul-level barrier shattered. His body was powerless as it was controlled to the front of the monster. A terrifying nascent soul-level divine sense enveloped him. The humanoid monster was very careful this time. It didn't touch upon the secrets of a yin-yang sect. It only searched for memories related to the body refining pavilion. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, a dark liquid gushed out from his thick palm. Dai Ming's body turned into a puddle of blood, just like the others, which he swallowed. When Zhou Yu saw this scene, His face turned incomparably pale, and his body trembled. This monster was talking to them just a moment ago, and in the next moment, it was searching their souls and eating their flesh. It was even more terrifying than the most evil demonic cultivator. Despair flashed in his eyes. The humanoid monster combed through the memories in its mind, its eyes flashing with shock. And the owner of the body refining pavilion is as powerful as a soul formation cultivator. How did they do it? Could it be that they derived the cloudy body tempering mantra? These body cultivators seem to be cultivating by themselves. They don't have any sub-bodies or clones. How do they solve the problem of blood, chi, and demonic energy devouring their bodies? Thinking of this, he looked at his own body. Although the blood, chi, and demonic energy have reached a balance with the demonic zombie body after forming the origin power of the physical body, my soul will be affected by the bloodthirsty intent after I leave my dormant state. Even though I created the flesh clone technique and separated my soul, it can only delay the corrosion of the bloodthirsty intent. I have no choice but to devour human flesh like a zombie to maintain my consciousness. How did they successfully break through the threshold of the nascent soul stage? How? Thinking of this, the figure of a bald man suddenly appeared in his mind. 300 years ago, that bald man was clearly from the body refining pavilion. He slandered the cloudy body tempering mantra and even said that he created his own body tempering technique. Could it be true? Just as he was thinking, a loud rumble suddenly sounded in his ears. The surrounding blood-red mist began to tremble, forming a powerful air current that surged in all directions. It was as if some kind of colossal creature was pressing down on him. The humanoid monster raised its head and looked at the sky with its pitch-black eyes. In the depths of the surging blood-red mist, there seemed to be a figure charging down from above. This aura, a hint of disbelief, flashed in the humanoid monster's eyes, as if it had discovered something strange. It slammed its thick tail into the void below it, and its entire body shot up into the sky. Seeing this, a glimmer of hope flashed in Zhou Yu's eyes. But before he could do anything, a loud noise came from the sky. The blood-red mist seemed to be under some kind of powerful pressure and turned into circles of shock waves that bombarded from above, emitting a terrifying fluctuation. Oh no! Zhou Yu couldn't care about anything else. He activated the demonic seed orb in his hand and added the power of the nascent soul stage to the shield. Immediately after, he felt a terrifying impact in his face. It was as if he was a lonely boat that was hit by the waves of the sea. Together with the shield, he was violently blasted away. He only managed to stop himself when he was 200 or 300 feet away. Fortunately, the power of the shock wave was not concentrated. It seemed to be just an aftershock. His shield didn't shatter and only dimmed a little. Zhou Yu wiped off his cold sweat and subconsciously looked up. He saw that the blood-red mist in the area of a few hundred feet in the sky had turned into circles of shock waves that rolled out. There were rumbles coming from the cliff on both sides of the abyss. That is, when he saw the situation in the sky clearly, Zhou Yu couldn't help but be stunned. There was an ape with dark golden fur all over its body. It was raising a pair of relatively small monkey fists and clashing with the thick claws of the humanoid monster. Outside the bodies of the two figures, there was a layer of invisible force field. One big and one small, like two semicircular ripples, colliding with each other outside the fists. The waves of invisible shock waves came from middle. It seemed that the golden-haired ape was at a disadvantage. Its small body was trembling nonstop. The air behind it was twisted into a huge arc and squeezed back inch by inch. It could be blasted away at any time. Roar! Suddenly, the golden-haired ape let out a roar, and a terrifying blood chi surged from its body. Its arms swelled at a speed visible to the naked eye, and its thick muscles intertwined with each other, making it look extremely ferocious. The moment its arms changed, the invisible force field outside its body seemed to be released. A terrifying aura spread out. Boom! An even more violent wave of air rushed out in all directions, and the 7-feet-tall humanoid monster was actually pushed back. The air around it was constantly distorted, and it staggered for a good 7 to 8 feet before it could stop. This scene stunned Joyu. He knew the strength of this monster. Even a demonic zombie was sent flying by it. Now it was pushed back by another monster. What kind of monster is this? Not only is its strength terrifying, the invisible force field outside its body looks exactly the same as the monster. The humanoid monster was also stunned. Its eyes were filled with shock. It muttered, "Physical source energy, long-armed giant ape." The golden-haired ape bared its teeth. Its arms quickly shrank. It rubbed its monkey fists as if it was in pain. The way it looked at the monster was very strange. It whispered something in its mouth. Whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, 7 figures flew out from the blood-red mist in the sky. They landed beside the golden-haired ape like lightning. The leader was a strange man with a thin body and an abnormally thick right arm. A man and a woman stood on both sides. These 2 people had an extraordinary aura. Their exposed skin had obvious muscle lines. The 4 people behind them were thin, but their bodies were surging with astonishing sword intent. They were the 7 disciples of the body, refining pavilion. Li Qianfeng looked at the half-human, half-beast monster in the sky and suddenly took a step forward. His eyes were filled with respect as he said, "Body refining pavilion's Li Qianfeng greets Senior Hong." Chapter 1202. When a humanoid monster heard the 3 words Senior Hong, his pitch-black vertical pupils surged with memories. After a while, his ancient voice slowly sounded. "Since you can call out my name, it seems that the letter was taken by that bald brat. He should be someone from your body, refining pavilion." When Li Qianfeng and the others heard this, their expressions turned solemn. The half-human, half-beast powerhouse in front of them was indeed the Devil Zombie Chieftain, an elder of the ancient Yuan school, the pioneer of the Devil Zombie body, refining lineage. Hong Yintian. Li Qianfeng's tone was respectful. "Senior, the one who entered the secret territory 300 years ago was our pavilion master. This time, it was him who asked us to enter the secret territory to rescue Senior Hong." Hong Yintian coldly snorted. "If I want to leave the secret territory, I can do so at any time. Why would I need you juniors to act? That brat thinks too highly of himself." As he spoke, the aura in his body circulated. Waves of invisible energy gushed out from his body and charged forward. Li Qianfeng and the others' expressions changed slightly. An invisible force field also appeared on the surface of their bodies, but compared to the other parties, it was much thinner and only stuck to the surface of their skin. Hong Yuntian's physical source strength was only fleeting, and it was quickly retracted back into his body. He glanced at everyone, focusing on Xiao Jin, and narrowed his eyes. He narrowed his eyes and said, "The 7 of you have the aura of blood qi and demonic qi. The 3 of you and the giant long-armed ape actually have body source strength. Could it be that the body refining pavilion has completely perfected the cloudy body refining technique? Please allow this junior to explain later." After saying this, Li Qianfeng looked at the distant Joyu. The blood-refining sect's demonic cultivator was still dumbfounded. He naturally recognized the famous Li Qianfeng. This person had killed countless demonic cultivators and could be said to be monstrous. He really couldn't understand. The body-refining pavilion only had Duvi Yiming's group of 4. Li Qianfeng and the 2 people beside him were clearly core formation realm body cultivators. Where did they come from? At this time, Li Qianfeng's voice reached his ears. "Fellow Taoist Zhou, we have an important matter to discuss with Senior Hong. Please leave first." Zhou was stunned at first, but then his eyes revealed ecstasy. He carefully glanced at Hong Yintian and said with a slightly trembling voice, "Junior won't disturb Senior and fellow Taoists." After he finished speaking, he suppressed the nervousness in his heart and slowly retreated 100 feet. Seeing that Hong Yintian was indifferent, he held the demonic seed orb in his hand and began to activate it. At this time, Li Qianfeng's voice came again. "Fellow Taoist Zhou." Zhou Yu. Then the surviving disciple of the blood-refining sect shone brightly and turned into a black escape light, fleeing out of the abyss in a panic. Hong Yuntian didn't stop the man from leaving. He just stared at Li Qianfeng, waiting for him to continue. Completely different. Hong Yuntian's eyes suddenly flashed when he heard this. Is it to circulate energy in the flesh and blood? Li Qianfeng was stunned, then showed a look of admiration. Senior is really insightful. The core of our pavilion's body refining art is to circulate energy in the body itself, using the body as a magic tool to refine and enhance the strength from the root. Refining the body. Hong Yuntian's eyes flashed with surprise. He then asked, then why is there qi and devil qi in your body? How is physical source strength generated? Qi and devil qi will instinctively devour themselves to generate physical source strength. No matter how strong the body is, it will be swallowed up, Li Qianfeng replied. 300 years ago, Pavilion Master was inspired by Senior's handwritten letter and discovered several major conditions to generate physical source strength. These conditions must be met with the assistance of Qi and devil Qi. So, Pavilion Master integrated the Cloudflow body refining art into our cultivation method and found a special breakthrough method, allowing body cultivators to break the limits of their bodies and generate physical source strength. Then, through the baptism of the heavenly thunder tribulation, they can truly enter the nascent soul stage. Hearing the first half of the sentence, Hong Yuntian was about to ask in detail, but the last sentence stunned him. Heavenly thunder tribulation? Li Qianfeng sighed. Seniors should know that after body cultivators generate physical source strength, their combat strength reaches the nascent soul stage. But there is no nascent soul in their bodies. It can be said that they have completely broken away from the traditional cultivation system. Hearing this, Hong Yuntian nodded lightly. The devil zombie body refining art was originally the same as the traditional cultivation system, foundation establishment, and core formation. However, when he first attacked the nascent soul stage, not only did he not generate a nascent soul, but his qi and devil qi also devoured his body. Later, after he merged with the devil zombie subbody and generated physical source strength, the energy in his body was only left with liquefied qi and devil qi and no nascent soul. At that time, body cultivators could be said to have broken through the weakness of the human body and walked on a brand new path. They vaguely broke some kind of balance between the heavens and earth, and the heavens sent down lightning tribulation to strangle them. However, although lightning tribulation increases the risk of breaking through, if you successfully pass it, the life force it bestows will help body cultivators complete their transformation. Li Qianfeng looked at the half-human, half-beast Hong Yuntian and said, Senior has generated physical source strength, but due to the special nature of the Yi Yuan secret realm, it is isolated from the heavens and earth, so there is no lightning tribulation. If you leave the secret realm, the might of the heavens and earth will immediately descend. Hearing this, Hong Yuntian coldly snorted. Nonsense, I already formed physical source strength 80,000 years ago. At that time, there was no lightning tribulation in the outside world. Hearing this, Li Qianfeng smiled and said, May I ask if Senior's origin strength can only be attached to devil zombies? Hong Yuntian opened his mouth and was about to refute, but when he recalled the state of his body at that time, he couldn't help but fall silent. 300 years ago, the Pavilion Master and Senior fought across space and discovered that Senior's physical source strength can be used on other devil zombies. This state is Senior's origin strength. Hong Yuntian recalled the changes over the years and couldn't help but admit that the body-refining Pavilion Master was right. In the past, when he had formed his physical body's source strength, he had used a demon zombie as a medium to display it. After tens of thousands of years of slumber, his physical body's source strength had imperceptibly influenced his vitality and demonic qi. Could it be that the reason I've been stuck at this cultivation node for 300 years is because the secret realm is isolated from the heavens and earth, so I didn't encounter the baptism of lightning tribulation? Will the life energy he mentioned solve the flaw of the bloodthirsty will, Hong Yuntian suddenly thought of many things, but he had a proud and aloof aura in his heart, so he didn't intend to continue asking. He said indifferently, "Junior, you've solved many of my doubts, so I'll spare your life for today. As for that lightning tribulation, I'll personally try it." As he spoke, he turned around and flew towards the bottom of the abyss. Li Qianfeng hurriedly said, "Wait, Senior's origin force field has a range of 3 feet. Coupled with the special nature of your body, it's very likely that it will give birth to a terrifying 9-stage lightning tribulation. The Pavilion Master sent us here not only to save Senior, but also to help Senior. Our pavilion has already researched many ways to use the source energy of the physical body, allowing us to use various powerful battle skills. If Senior can obtain our help, the risk of tribulation will be greatly reduced. Battle skills." Hong Yuntian's figure stopped. He looked back at them and said coldly, "You can't give these things to me for free. Speak, what do you want?" Li Qianfeng heard this and said seriously, "The Pavilion Master specially instructed this disciple to sincerely invite Senior to join the Body Refining Pavilion and study the supreme path of body refining together." Hong Yuntian snorted and his eyes flashed with a bit of arrogance. "I am an elder of Yuan School, the #1 sect in the world of immortal cultivators. I am a founder of demonic body refining lineage. How can I join other schools?" Li Qianfeng seemed to have expected this, and a jade slip appeared in his hand. He threw it over and said, "Senior, Yuan School has never truly recognized you as an elder. You will understand if you read the contents of this jade slip." Hong Yuntian took the jade slip and swept it with his divine sense. He was surprised and began to read. This jade slip described the things recorded by the old ancestor of Blood Beast sect, including the Han family's use of demonic body refining lineage as a tool to test their devil arts. According to the restriction characteristics of the Oath Stone, the fact that Hong Yuntian and the others were able to do such a thing to their fellow disciples indicated that the restriction on their souls had been lifted. In other words, the devil zombie body refining lineage was no longer a disciple of Yuan School. After a long time, Hong Yuntian's thick palm closed and the jade slip was directly crushed into pieces. His pitch-black pupils suddenly emitted a lot of red light. The black and red light intertwined and looked very strange. "This is simply a rumor. It is impossible for Han family to do this. What the elders want is the body refinement art that I, Hong Yuntian, created, not Han Ting's devil arts." Hong Yuntian's mood seemed to have become abnormally agitated. His voice was mixed with unwillingness and anger. The bloodthirsty red color in his eyes was getting more and more intense. "You guys are vainly trying to divide me and Yuan School. Your intentions are worthy of death. What body refining technique? What combat skills? All of them are unorthodox. I will let you see the true strength of my flesh avatar." After saying this, Hong Yuntian's eyes were completely covered with red light. Chapter 1203. Looking at the imposing Hong Yuntian rushing over, Xiao Jin let out a soft snort. The blood in his body surged, and the muscles on his arms bulged. He turned into a golden light and met the attack head-on. Immediately afterward, there was a dull sound of collision in the air. The two figures, one big and one small, were entangled together. Li Qianfeng and the others watched this scene and couldn't help but look at each other, somewhat confused. Hong Yuntian was quite friendly with them just a moment ago. Even if the contents of a jade slip were a bit excessive, his mood shouldn't have changed so quickly. Duanian looked at the pair of blood-red eyes in the distance and said thoughtfully, "Senior brother, Pavilion Master said that Senior Hong's body contains the true demon intent, and the devil zombie body tempering art will also cause cultivators to be affected by the bloodthirsty intent like zombies. Do you think his consciousness will be eroded by the bloodthirsty intent because of the fluctuation of his temperament? Why don't we use the Pavilion Master's gift?" Li Qianfeng waved his hand and shook his head. "No need for now. Pavilion Master has been teaching us alone for several months. The purpose is to let us use Senior Hong to familiarize ourselves with the battle skills. Martial Uncle Gene is the strongest. He's helping us test Senior Hong's strength. He looked at the two figures fighting in front of him. With each round of exchanges, several waves of air rolled out. It was the terrifying aftershock of pure power. Fortunately, they had the source force field and could borrow power from the void. If it were before the breakthrough, they probably wouldn't be able to stand firm in these turbulent waves of air. Li Qianfeng murmured. Pavilion Master judged that Senior Hong's physical strength was between 400 and 800,000 Jin. He didn't expect it to reach 800,000 Jin. Moreover, the passive range of the source force field has reached 3 feet. It's as terrifying as Pavilion Master's early-stage bone transformation. He hasn't passed the Thunder Tribulation, but he can exert his strength and source force field to the extreme. Could it be that when he formed the source force field, his body didn't have any hidden dangers? Or is he different from us? The other two listened to Li Qianfeng's words, and their eyes flashed with a dignified look. Xiao Jin had the ancient Demon Emperor's bloodline and a 9-star physique. Although his bloodline talent wasn't in strength, after forming his body, his strength skyrocketed to 600,000 Jin, which was higher than them. Not long ago, Hong Yuntian and Xiao Jin had exchanged a blow, and they could see the other party's terrifying strength. Xiao Jin had only barely managed to suppress Hong Yuntian's brute force after increasing his strength by 50% with the help of the Connecting Arms divine ability. Boom, boom. Although the little monkey's strength was more than 100,000 kilograms, Hong Yuntian relied on his tail to borrow strength from the void to move faster. Often, when the origin energy field was crushed, he would stagger his body and cause the monkey fist to miss. Buzz, a dull rumbling sound rang out. The monkey palm struck the origin energy field in front of Hong Yuntian's chest, creating a wave of ripples. The terrifying vibrational force seemed to want to penetrate this layer of origin energy field defense and pour into it. Hong Yuntian let out a painful groan as the scales on his chest caved in. It was as if he had been severely injured. However, with a surge of blood qi, his chest returned to its original state. This half-human, half-beast monster's eyes emitted an even more blazing red glow as it raised its sharp claws and retaliated even more ferociously. Xiao Jin was slightly taken aback. It had just used the suppressing origin palm technique. It didn't seem to have much effect, or perhaps the opponent's body had a powerful recovery ability. The little monkey was a little unconvinced as it looked at the incoming enemy. It raised its hands as well, and 2 layers of blurry palm shadows appeared on its huge paws as it slammed towards Hong Yuntian's claws. Unexpectedly, a layer of vibrational ripples also appeared on Hong Yuntian's 5-clawed palms. Although it didn't form a palm print, it also emitted a vibrational force. The 2 pairs of palms collided. There was no sound, but circles of dense ripples spread out. Both sides' bodies trembled violently. Although Hong Yuntian's origin force field was 3 feet thick, the vibrational ripples weren't solid and were constantly being squeezed by the little monkey's palm shadows. However, Xiao Jin's origin force field only had a range of 1.5 feet, so it couldn't unleash the full power of this battle technique. Boom! An even more turbulent wave of air rolled out. The origin force field on their palms shattered at the same time, and the palms of similar sizes collided. At this moment, Hong Yuntian's 10 fingers suddenly extended to twice their original length. Like 10 ropes, they tightly gripped Xiao Jin's monkey palms. The sharp claws on his fingertips pierced fiercely towards Xiao Jin's wrists, and a dark black liquid gushed out from them. Qi and blood magic. Xiao Jin's pupils shrank. Although his skin was only slightly pierced, under the circulation of his qi and blood magic, he immediately felt waves of numbness in the flesh on his wrists. He hurriedly mobilized his physical body's origin force, and a layer of invisible force field floated up again, squeezing the poisonous, snake-like, evil energy out of his flesh. Just as he finished doing all this, he realized that Hong Yuntian had opened his bloody mouth full of sharp teeth at some point in time. Roar! Accompanied by an angry roar, a ball of flesh and blood shot out from his mouth. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a grayish-black bone spike and shot toward Xiao Jin's head. At this moment, the little monkey's hands were wrapped around by the opponent's rope-like fingers. A small portion of the muscles on his wrists had been devoured by the qi and blood magic, so he couldn't break free for a moment. However, his reaction was extremely fast. The origin force field on his upper body twisted crazily, turning into a pale, silver vortex that blocked in front of his head. That bone spike directly bombarded his head. The invisible force it contained was continuously dispersed under the circulation of the silver vortex. It was fixed in the vortex and couldn't move an inch forward. Seeing this, Hong Yuntian's red eyes narrowed slightly, and a layer of dark light surged out of the bone spike. Boom! Accompanied by a huge explosion, the bone spike directly exploded. Countless small balls of flesh and blood, mixed with layers of invisible force fields, rushed into the silver vortex like a fairy scattering flowers. The silver vortex kept spinning, and a terrifying crushing force surged, crushing these balls of flesh and blood into nothingness. Unexpectedly, not all of the bone spike exploded. There was still a small bone spike that was the length of a finger left. It took advantage of the explosion of the silver vortex to shoot forward. Clang! A crisp sound of collision was heard. The small bone spike actually penetrated the silver vortex and bombarded Xiao Jin's forehead, but was blocked by his skull. The small bone spike seemed to have realized that its attack power was not enough to break through his skull. With a tremble, it immediately turned into a pool of liquid and squirmed on his forehead. The dark golden hair and scalp outside of Xiao Jin's skull withered at a speed visible to the naked eye. Damn it! Xiao Jin's expression changed greatly. The half-fused demon energy in his body crazily surged, once again spreading a force field from the inside out, squeezing out this pool of liquid. After this short delay, the muscles on his wrist had already recovered. With a burst of strength of 900,000 kilograms, he forcibly broke free from his opponent's restraint and madly retreated several meters. He felt a chill on his forehead and looked at Hong Yuntian not far away, fear flashing in his eyes. Li Qianfeng and the others who were watching the battle all had incomparably solemn expressions, as if they were facing a great enemy. This Hong Yuntian's blood demon energy was completely different from theirs. His ability was incomparably strange. The other party seemed to be able to transform his blood demon energy between liquid and solid. What was even more surprising was that the blood demon energy that shot out could also contain an origin energy field. One had to know that the body cultivators of the body refining pavilion could only rely on battle treasures to separate their origin energy fields. This meant that Hong Yuntian's blood demon energy was equivalent to some kind of self-destructing battle treasure. The power of the other party's blood demon energy was even more shocking to everyone. Xiao Jin was half a step into the bone transformation stage. His physical defense was no different from a true early-stage bone transformation body cultivator. Such a powerful flesh and blood was actually instantly swallowed by the other party's blood demon energy. The blood demon energy could only swallow flesh and blood that was weaker than it. In other words, the other party's blood demon energy itself possessed extremely powerful lethality. Hong Yuntian took a deep breath. In addition to sucking back the small ball of liquid blood demon energy, the surrounding blood-red mist also gathered towards him. He stuck out his barbed tongue and licked his lips. He let out an excited cry and once again rushed toward Xiao Jin. Chapter 1204. At this time, Hong Yunqian's two claws had turned into palms, and there was a layer of blurry force fields surging on them. It seemed like he was trying to imitate the origin tremor palm, but it didn't take shape and the power it emitted was weaker. Xiao Jin looked at the half-human, half-beast figure rushing over with a solemn expression. It had just clashed with his palm and knew that the source energy in this guy's palm already had some of the charm of the origin tremor palm. After all, he's a forerunner of body refinement and has been generating source energy for many years. The range of his power and source energy field is comparable to Lu Kuan. Give him some time, and he might really be able to master the origin tremor palm. I can't use other battle techniques. Otherwise, if he learns them, I'll be even more passive in battle. I have to change my method. These thoughts flashed through the little monkey's mind. It raised its psychic giant arm and formed a palm with its monkey claws. It continued to circulate the origin jolting palm. Silver vortexes appeared on the origin energy field on the surface of its body and faced the incoming Hong Yuntian. Bang! A dull sound came. The little monkey's palm hit Hong Yuntian's chest. Traces of tremor power passed through the blurry force field outside Hong Yuntian's body and landed on the scales on his chest. A slight palm print appeared on the scales. Sure enough, when I attacked before, I felt that this guy's physical defense was much weaker than a body cultivator at the early stage of bone transformation. When Xiao Jin attacked Hong Yuntian, it was also hit by Hong Yuntian's claw. However, with the source energy vortex outside blocking, it only stirred up a circle of invisible air waves. This guy's strength has decreased? The little monkey was surprised. The moment they exchanged blows, it clearly felt that the opponent's strength had decreased by 20 to 30,000 pounds. His body also seems to have become a little smaller. Could it be that his 800,000 pounds of physical strength is also explosive? As it analyzed in its mind, the little monkey's figure didn't stop. After it struck out with its palm, it quickly moved and dodged Hong Yuntian's claw. Then, it didn't follow up with another attack. Instead, it turned to the side and pressed down with its right palm, blasting towards Hong Yuntian's waist. At the same time, its left hand was in front of it, blocking the thick tail's swing. Previously, it had used brute force to fight back, which was why it had been locked onto by the opponent. That was why it had been hit by the bone spike. Now, the little monkey had changed its strategy. It dodged left and right, and it relied on its origin energy vortex defense to easily resist the opponent's increasingly weaker attacks. As the battle progressed, in addition to the origin jolting palm in Hong Yuntian's hands, ripples similar to an origin energy vortex appeared around his body. However, the origin energy changes in the body cultivation battle technique used the bone treasure as the source, and then used the demonic energy to circulate. Hong Yuntian's physical body origin energy was stimulated by the demonic energy in his qi and blood. The other party could only see the form and did not know the meaning, so it was not easy to imitate on the spot. In addition, Hong Yuntian's strength was getting weaker and weaker. Xiao Jin gradually gained the upper hand in the battle. When the onlookers saw this, their tense bodies relaxed slightly. Duan Yun looked at the battle in the field and suddenly said, "Senior Hong's body is shrinking as the battle goes on, and so is his strength. The cost of using this source energy field is too great." Li Qianfeng nodded slightly, his eyes filled with confusion. When we use source energy fields in battle techniques, we consume the demonic energy in our bodies. Senior Hong is consuming the demonic energy in his qi and blood. The body cultivation demonic art he cultivated was inextricably linked to the demonic energy in his qi and blood. He was very familiar with this kind of greedy and evil energy. The consumption of the demonic energy in one's qi and blood usually only needed to be replenished with demonic energy. Right now, he seems to be overdrawing the demonic energy in his qi and blood. This shouldn't be. Just as Li Qianfeng revealed a puzzled expression, a terrifying qi and blood energy suddenly erupted in the battlefield, attracting their attention. The surrounding blood-red mist seemed to be attracted and all rushed towards Hong Yuntian's body. A thick layer of black light appeared outside Hong Yuntian's grayish-black scales, and a terrifying invisible force surged out in all directions. Boom! Xiao Jin's expression was slightly stunned. The void energy that erupted from Hong Yuntian's body was actually 400,000 kilograms. He was momentarily caught off guard and was sent flying more than 3 meters away. At this time, the black membrane of light wriggled, and Hong Yuntian's half-human, half-beast body curled up like a huge meatball. Then, a dozen bone spurs emerged from the surface of his body. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Accompanied by ear-piercing sounds, these bone spurs shot forward like a storm. Xiao Jin's expression changed greatly. He heard Li Qianfeng's words, but how could Hong Yuntian's demonic energy and blood still erupt with the demonic energy from before? There were still more than 10 bone spurs. This wave of attacks was extremely dense, and the bone spurs also contained a force field that could change direction at any time. He had no time to dodge, and could only urge the source energy vortex with all his strength to defend. Not good. Let's go help. Li Qianfeng and the other two had been in a state of battle. When they saw this scene, the air below them distorted and turned into afterimages that shot towards the little monkey. Such a number of bone spurs represented a large amount of blood chi and demonic energy. If they broke through his defense and allowed the evil energy to devour his flesh, Xiao Jin would not only have to expend more blood essence to recover his flesh, but the flesh essence absorbed by the blood chi and demonic energy could also replenish Hong Yuntian's energy. He could not let this kind of technique succeed. These 3 body cultivators were originally more than 10 meters away. With the help of the void energy, they almost instantly arrived behind Xiao Jin. The half-fused demonic energy in their bodies surged, and they did not use any body cultivator battle techniques. Instead, they urged the void energy divine ability. They had not passed the lightning tribulation, so they did not dare to use this long-range attack with all their strength. They only radiated the attack to a distance of 3 meters. 3 streams of void energy, each of which weighed 500,000 kilograms, appeared in front of the little monkey. They resonated with the source power vortex and resisted the explosion of the bone spurs. After feeling the power, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Although there were a lot of bone spurs, the force field contained in them was only 500,000 kilograms. It was not difficult to resist. They quickly blocked the attack. However, the flesh and blood that exploded looked lifeless, as if they were dead meat. After being hit by the void energy, they turned into a blood-red mist that spread out in all directions. Unlike before, they didn't continue to attack in the form of small bone spikes. When everyone saw this, they could not help but be stunned. But at this moment, the flesh ball in the distance once again erupted with a source power field. The surrounding air was distorted and shot down into the abyss. While flying, the black flesh and blood quickly wriggled. Like muscle fibers, it also seemed to be mixed with oily internal organs. It quickly squeezed and turned into a 5-foot-tall human figure. What is this? What a rich aura of blood chi and demonic energy. It can use the physical source power. Could it be Senior Hong's body? These body cultivators could not help but guess in their minds. Don't be in a daze. This abyss has never appeared 300 years ago. I'm not familiar with it. Quickly chase it. We can't let it escape. The little monkey shouted, and the hundreds of bone treasures in its body trembled. Its entire body turned into a silver light and bent down to chase down. Although it put away the connecting arm's divine ability, with the help of the bone treasures, its speed was 20% faster than the humanoid flesh. Li Qianfeng and the other two, as well as the 4 sword cultivators watching the battle in the distance, followed closely behind. However, when Duge Yiming passed by the previous battlefield, he glanced at the surrounding blood-red mist, and a thoughtful look flashed in his eyes. Chapter 1205. Although Li Qianfeng and the others, including Xiao Jin, were half a step into the early stage of bone transformation, their divine sense hadn't truly transformed and hadn't reached the nascent soul realm. The surrounding blood-red mist had a considerable isolating effect. The little monkey's eyes were closed as he flew. His ears trembled slightly. The air within a radius of dozens of miles vibrated, and the airflow tumbled. Even the sand and stones on the ground and the human-shaped flesh in the air were imprinted in his mind, forming a unique image. Strange, we don't have any killing intent. Why is he running? Could it be that he was really swallowed by the bloodthirsty intent and is acting on instinct? Both sides were extremely fast and soon approached the ground. A stone forest covered in blood-red mist entered the little monkey's field of vision. On the ground outside the stone forest, There were many broken restrictions scattered. Among these broken restrictions, there was a body covered in purple-black scales and covered in bone spurs. A demonic zombie. Not good. The little monkey seemed to have thought of something, and his expression changed. Although the distance between the two sides had narrowed a lot, there was still a distance of 60 to 70 feet. With its half-fused demonic energy, the power of the void couldn't affect it. It could only watch as the human-shaped flesh fell onto the demonic zombie's body. Like blood dissolving in water, it fused into the scales. Immediately after, the demonic zombie's muscle fibers all swelled up and its body expanded by half. At the same time, bone spurs and muscle lumps hung from its body, making it look incomparably ferocious. The demonic zombie suddenly opened its eyes, emitting a red light. A layer of black light appeared on the surface of its body, and an invisible force field surged around it. Accompanied by a thick corpse stench, the purple-black figure rose from the ground. The little monkey heard the sound of air exploding. Its arms shook and the blood essence in its body surged. It once again used the ability to connect arms and turned into a long-armed ape. Just as it finished all this, a pair of scaly palms with bone spurs on the fingertips slammed towards it. There was also a layer of blurry palm phantoms on top of it, emitting an inexplicable pressure. Origin Quake Palm. Xiao Jin's pupil shrank. Its huge monkey palm also used the Origin Quake Palm. Wong. The little monkey felt an even more violent tremor surging toward it. The distorted force field outside the monkey's palm trembled violently, as if it was under great pressure. This power, its pupils constricted, and it didn't try to fight back. Instead, it retreated along with the force of the impact. Unexpectedly, the demonic zombie followed closely behind, closing in on it. The pair of demonic palms that contained the Origin Tremor Palm continued to bombard the Origin energy field outside the little monkey's body. Spherical waves of air rolled out in all directions with them as the core, forming a blood-red mist vacuum area. Xiao Jin's expression was unsightly. His opponent's strength had reached 500,000 kilograms. Not only was he able to use the Origin Jolting Palm, but there were also vortexes forming around his scales. Xiao Jin's monkey palms were completely unable to break through his opponent's Origin energy field. On the contrary, it was the little monkey that was struck by the tremor force. Although it couldn't cause too much damage with the defensive power of a bone transformation stage body cultivator, the tremor force would stagnate the blood flow and cause the muscles in the relevant parts to go numb for a moment. The little monkey's movement speed slowed down because of this. The current battle was completely different from before. It was suppressed and at a disadvantage. Li Qianfeng and the others followed closely behind Xiao Jin. The scene just now fell into their eyes, and each of them widened their eyes. The one lying here is Senior Hong's demonic zombie? No. The pavilion master said that the demonic zombie's body was 9 feet tall, and its bone spurs were even longer. It's not this one. Its appearance and aura are different from the recorded demonic zombies. That's right, it might be the one from the blood-refining sect. This demonic zombie's strength is terrifying. It's even stronger than Martial Uncle Jin's Omni-Arm Divine ability. I'm afraid it's at least 500,000 kilograms. Li Qianfeng listened to the words of his fellow disciples and looked at his own arm. His eyes flashed with a trace of understanding. I understand now. That humanoid flesh and blood is Senior Hong's demonic chi origin. It condenses all of the essence of his human body. This demonic chi origin carries the power of 500,000 kilograms of demonic chi origin. It can be used by attaching itself to a physical body. When the others heard this, there was some confusion in their eyes. Li Qianfeng stared intently at the battle in the field and continued. That half-man, half-beast should be the result of Senior Hong forcibly condensing the bodies of several peak 7th-grade demonic beasts, using their blood, chi, and devil origin as a bridge. The strength of these demonic beasts is at most 300,000 kilograms. When combined with Senior Hong's demonic chi origin, it reached 400,000 kilograms. The demonic zombie of the blood-refining sect has a physical strength of 500,000 kilograms. When the two are combined, it can directly erupt with a strength of 500,000 kilograms. The demonic blood doppelganger that Senior spoke of should be the body possessed by his demonic chi origin. The more Li Qianfeng spoke, the more he believed in his own judgment. His demonic arm was also a carrier of demonic chi origin. It could be used to inject a large amount of demonic chi origin essence into it to erupt with explosive power. Hong Yuntian's demonic chi origin essence was also in liquid form. It must be attached to a physical body in order to display its true strength. Li Qianfeng used his demonic arm, but this senior used his other body as a carrier. At this time, everyone understood that the abnormally hideous muscle lumps under the scales of the demonic zombie in front of them were formed by Hong Yuntian's demonic chi origin essence, squeezed into the demonic zombie's body. The combination of the two caused a terrifying power to erupt. Zhao Qiming said with some worry, "The opponent is too strong. He has also learned 2 battle skills. The strength we can display is limited. Martial Uncle Jin's divine ability of connecting arms can't last forever." Li Qianfeng narrowed his eyes and said, "Have you forgotten the scene of the half-human, half-beast body shrinking? If I'm not mistaken, this demonic blood doppelganger technique requires the consumption of the host's physical essence. I'm afraid this demonic zombie is the same." Duan Yun said with some hesitation, "Senior brother, this body is a demonic zombie of the blood-refining sect. It only has a strength of 500,000 jin." But the Pavilion Master said that Hong Yuntian's true demonic zombie subbody was a top-level demonic general in ancient times. If they are combined, hearing this, everyone's faces turned pale. The demonic zombie in front of them had a strength of 500,000 jin. If it was a top-level demonic general, wouldn't its strength be similar to the Pavilion Master's? Li Qianfeng shook his head and said, "It shouldn't be that easy. Did you notice that the demonic beast doppelganger devoured a few strands of martial Uncle Jin's flesh? The red light of bloodlust has decreased a little. But now that it is the demonic zombie's body, the red light is even stronger than before. This means that the demonic zombie's body is more susceptible to the corrosion of bloodlust." Hearing this, Duan Yun hesitated and said, "Since martial Uncle Jin's essence blood can reduce the bloodlust, then the essence blood that the Pavilion Master left for us must be more effective. Maybe it can directly awaken Senior's consciousness." Li Qianfeng sighed and said, "The opponent's chi and blood demonic power is extremely strange. What if it devours and absorbs the Pavilion Master's essence blood and becomes stronger?" Speaking of this, he thoughtfully said, "Or we can first exhaust this demonic zombie's body, capture Senior Hong's chi and blood demonic power source, and then use the Pavilion Master's essence blood to awaken his consciousness." The chi and blood demonic power does not have a physical body to attach to, so the strength it can exert is limited. Let's do that. Everyone couldn't think of any other strategy for a while. "Senior brother, let's go help Martial Uncle Jin." After speaking, Zhao Qiming and Duan Yun's figures flashed and rushed directly to the battlefield. Li Qianfeng still stayed in the same place, looking a little annoyed. Although the demonic body refining technique could exert the maximum range of the source force field, the strength he could exert now was only 250,000 jin. The other 2 physique cultivators could barely help Xiao Jin a little. If he went there, it would be useless at all. The gap was too big. 1,000,000 jin, not counting the origin chi of heaven and earth, was almost the same as the late nascent soul stage. Hong Yuntian's flesh doppelganger ability was too abnormal. At this moment, Dugu Yiming's voice suddenly came from behind. "Senior brother Li, the consumption of this demonic zombie's flesh and blood is extremely slow. We might not be able to exhaust it. Why don't we try devouring the body's essence?" Li Qianfeng's expression changed. "Junior brother, you mean to use your chi and blood demonic sword to devour the demonic zombie's flesh and blood? But the chi and blood demonic power in the demonic sword is only at the core formation stage. I'm afraid it can't do anything to the demonic zombie's body." Dougie Yiming's gaze turned to the demonic arm, and his eyes narrowed. Junior brothers will naturally not work, but what about yours, senior brother? Li Qianfeng was stunned for a moment, then reacted and muttered, "Real demonic power has formed in my body. If I take the initiative to inject it into the demonic arm, the qi and blood demonic power in it will be raised to the extreme in a short time. Or it's called qi and blood demonic power. It can even devour my bone treasure, let alone the demonic zombie's body. Then attach this qi and blood demonic power to the qi and blood demonic sword, and use the sword cultivator's ability to devour its flesh and blood." At this point, he frowned and said, "It's not difficult to separate it out. The consumed blood essence and demonic power can also be replenished. However, Junior Brother's qi and blood demonic sword may not be able to withstand the devouring of qi and blood demonic power." Dougie Yiming's eyes flashed with a bit of fanaticism. "Senior brother, the four of us have already mastered the simplified four-symbol sword formation. The sharpness of Junior Brother's body can be strengthened in a short time, and with it protecting the qi and blood demonic sword, plus the demonic zombie's body is more attractive, we can definitely give it a try." Moreover, he licked his lips and said, "If the qi and blood demonic sword can refine some of this demonic zombie's flesh and blood essence, it will have an amazing effect on strengthening our meridians." Li Qianfeng saw Dougie Yiming's insistence and looked at the three people who were barely fighting Hong Yuntian to a draw. He took a deep breath and said, "All right, we'll try our best." Chapter 1206. Duan Yun didn't directly join the battle. Instead, she flew into the sky. As for Zhao Qiming, he rushed into the battle. He came to Xiao Jin's side and looked at the demonic zombies, two suppressing yuan palms, with a dignified expression. He crossed his arms in front of his chest. Four light cyan force field vortexes gushed out from the cross-shaped forks on his arms, blocking the demonic palm in front of his left hand. Although he was half a step into the early stage of bone transformation, the source force field's range was only 6 inches. To use the source force vortex, he had to stack the force fields on his arms. Boom! A loud sound rang out. Zhao Qiming immediately felt a terrifying force rushing towards him. The cyan source force vortexes on his arms only lasted for half a breath before completely shattering. The demonic zombie's blood-red eyes flashed with excitement. The scaly demonic palm turned into a fist, and the bone spurs at the joints of its fingers hammered into the flesh of Zhao Qiming's forearm. Clang! A crisp sound came out. The bone spurs easily pierced through the flesh, but when they hit the bones, they couldn't go any further. At this time, a black liquid with a greedy aura spurted out from the bone spurs. Zhao Qiming didn't have time to resist at all. His body was sent flying by the bone spurs. He felt the blood qi and demonic power left in his body. His eyes flashed with a strange light, and his body shone with a treasure light. Red, cyan, blue, yellow, and gold, 5 colors lit up on his torso and limbs, condensing into a 5-colored light film that crazily poured into the wound on his forearm. On the other side, Xiao Jin saw Zhao Qiming block the demonic zombies, suppressing Yuan Palm, and snorted. The monkey's claws that were originally using the suppressing Yuan Palm turned around. His palms were closed, and his fingers were interlocked, leaving only a pair of index and middle fingers facing forward. The 1-foot source force field in his palms squeezed inward. Ripples of light surged out, and finally turned into a dazzling silver cone-shaped vortex that floated at his fingertips. At this moment, the little monkey turned the suppressing Yuan palm into the whirlpool finger and fiercely pointed forward. The penetrating power resisted the vibrating power, breaking the surface with a single point, breaking the palm with a finger. The sound of air leaking was heard. The little monkey's fingertip vortex penetrated the vibrating ripples outside the devil's palm, and the fingertip touched the purplish-black scales at the bottom of the devil's palm. The surrounding air seemed to have solidified in an instant. In the next moment, this piece of scale cracked open, and Xiao Jin's monkey claws, which contained a terrifying penetrative power, fiercely pierced into it. Roar! The demonic zombie had just devoured Zhao Qiming's flesh and blood. It didn't even have time to get excited before its defenses were broken by the whirlpool finger. It let out an enraged roar as an origin energy field of 500,000 kilograms exploded forth, sending Xiao Jin flying. A bloody hole had appeared at the bottom of his right demonic palm. The wound extended all the way to his forearm bone. The terrifying spiral-penetrating power seemed to have penetrated his demonic bones. At the same time, a formless origin energy field surged out of Zhao Qiming's body again, squeezing out the demonic energy that had invaded his body. After this mass of black liquid came out, it immediately turned into a stream of light and drilled into the bloody hole in the demonic zombie's right palm. The flesh and blood inside wriggled and wriggled as if the wound was being repaired. Suddenly, a five-colored light surged out of the bloody hole, emitting a sizzling sound of corrosion. It also erupted with a terrifying destructive power. The demonic zombie let out a blood-curdling scream. Its reaction was extremely fast. The formless origin energy field rapidly surged, and a mass of five-colored flesh and blood that was much larger than before was spat out from its palm. It scattered in the air, turning into a five-colored mist. Waves of rotten smell spread out. Not only did the wound on the demonic zombie's right palm not heal, it even expanded a bit. Seeing this, Zhao Qiming let out a slight sigh of relief. The blood essence in his body surged, repairing the flesh and blood on his forearm. Since he dared to fight the demonic zombie in close combat, he was naturally prepared. When the demonic energy entered his body, he immediately mobilized the five poisons origin energy, condensing it into the flesh and blood essence of his arm. For a moment, Hong Yintian didn't notice and absorbed the demonic energy mixed with the five poisons origin energy into his body. The five poisons origin energy was not inferior to the demonic energy. The origin energy field and the origin energy field clashed. After the explosion, not only did it have a corrosive power, but it also had a destructive power. It caused a second injury to the demonic zombie. After a few breaths, the wound on the demonic zombie's palm was completely healed. However, its body was obviously much smaller than before. Everyone couldn't help but feel refreshed. Li Qianfeng's judgment was right. Hong Yuntian's flesh doppelganger origin energy consumed a lot of the demonic zombie's flesh and blood essence. The demonic zombie's blood-red eyes stared at Zhao Qiming. It seemed to be extremely angry. It directly turned into an afterimage and rushed out. However, only one of its hands was condensing the origin energy field of the suppressing origin energy palm. The other hand was holding two fingers together. The origin energy field outside was distorted, as if it wanted to imitate the whirlpool origin energy field. Xiao Jin's figure flashed and blocked in front of Zhao Qiming. With the help of the six-eared macaque's unique bloodline origin energy field, it could easily learn any of Lu Kuan's origin energy field skills. Just now, the reason why the little monkey held its palms together was to hide the origin energy changes in its palms. The demonic zombie only observed the conical vortex at its fingertips. It was not enough to use the whirlpool origin energy field. As expected, when the demonic zombie's fingertips approached, the conical vortex was still not condensed. Its power was not as strong as the suppressing origin energy palm. The little monkey easily took it. Then, it joined forces with Zhao Qiming to fight against Hong Yuntian's demonic zombie doppelganger. After the demonic zombie suffered a loss, it became cautious. Zhao Qiming and the others were also guarding against the opponent's special origin energy field. They didn't dare to fight with full force. Due to the difference in power between the two sides, the man and the monkey were still at a disadvantage. At this time, Duan Yun was floating above the battlefield. Her eyes were fixed on the demonic zombie's body. Her whole body was emitting a shocking light. A terrifying sharpness was circulating in her body. Golden threads flowed along her bones and continuously flowed to her arms. Duan Yun's palms were facing each other. She half-clenched her fists in front of her chest. Between her fingers, a dazzling golden light was emitted. A terrifying sharpness was gradually emitted from her body. Her whole body was like a terrifyingly sharp sword. She floated in the air, as if she could explode with a shocking attack at any time. The demonic zombie below seemed to have sensed it. Its attack slowed down a little. In another direction, Dugi Yiming and the other 3 sword cultivators stood in a unique formation. Every one of them had a strong demonic sword intent surging in their bodies. Especially Dugi Yiming. He emitted a trace of the sharpness unique to nascent soul sword cultivators. For several inches, long flying swords shuttled between the group in a mysterious way. As they intersected with each other, a sharpness appeared in every sword cultivator's body. Li Qianfeng stood in the middle of the 4 people. His body was emitting the light of hundreds of demonic treasures. Streaks of dark spiritual light crazily surged from every part of his body, converging towards his right demonic arm. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. His demonic arm's palm was facing the sky. A mass of blood-red, liquid energy gradually gushed out from his palm. There was even a faint layer of flame on top of it. The moment this energy appeared, the demonic zombie's purple-black scales couldn't help but tighten. This physical body seemed to instinctively feel a trace of fear. The demonic zombie's blood-red eyes couldn't help but look over. Chapter 1207. This chapter of The Ancestor of Body Cultivators will be released around noon. Please wait for a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to receive the latest update. Chapter 1208. Dugu Yiming's sword art flashed as he looked at the 4 swords filled with sharpness. A sense of pride welled up in his heart. This 4-symbol sword formation was on the same level as the tripartite sword formation. Originally, only nascent soul cultivators could activate it. However, after Dugu Yiming and several other nascent soul sword cultivators' joint research, they simplified the sword formation and lowered the requirement to use it to core formation. It could condense everyone's sword intent and magic power and transform it into sharpness. The meridians of traditional sword cultivators were weak and couldn't withstand this nascent soul-level sword energy. Only top sword cultivators who cultivated the demon sword art could display such a terrifying sword formation. Dugu Yiming's body had long nurtured this kind of sharp energy. Under the urging of the 4-symbol sword formation, the sharpness of the energy rapidly grew and dispersed into the 4 chi and blood devil swords, floating above the thick devil arms. Li Qianfeng's expression was solemn as he stared fixedly at the blood-red energy ball in his devil palm. This was the blood and devil chi he had created by using his devil energy. For some unknown reason, the primal yang devil fire was also attached to it. Seeing the swords flying over, he focused on controlling them. The blood-red energy trembled slightly and split into 4 threads, each of which rushed to the swords. As soon as the 2 sides touched, the demon chi climbed onto the short sword refined from the sternum like tiny vines. The demon chi in the demon's sword also flickered incessantly, and a blood-red light bloomed. The 2 sides seemed to be responding to each other. The demon chi seemed to lack interest in the demon's swords and didn't have any desire to devour them. Li Qianfeng and Dugu Yiming were slightly stunned. Is it because the demon swords have been nurturing demon chi for years? Or is it because the demon sword material is not good enough for it? Dugu Yiming's face lit up. Senior brother, since the demon chi doesn't want to devour the demon swords, send more. Li Qianfeng nodded. The demon chi in his body and the demon chi in his bones fused together to form a unique demon chi. It mixed with the rich blood essence and rushed to the demon arm. In order to prevent the essence of his body from being damaged, he used his blood essence to infuse the demon chi into the demon chi. At the same time, he absorbed the demon chi from the space in his rib cage. The pure demon chi flowed into his bone marrow to replenish the loss of blood. The four chi and blood demonic swords, under the surging sharpness, connected head to tail. The blood-red light also became more and more intense, like a blood-red 2-foot-long sword. Boom! A loud sound rang out. Zhao Qiming's body was sent flying once again. There was a bloody fist mark on his chest. One could even see a trace of his pale, blue sternum. However, there was no pain on his face at all. Instead, there was even a hint of doubt. Martial Uncle Gene, this guy's strength and the strength of his bone spikes have weakened significantly. According to his understanding, the bone spurs of the demonic zombie should also be at the mature stage, but now it seemed that they were only made of ordinary magical equipment. Xiao Jin pressed his palms together and sent a whirlpool finger towards the demonic zombie's arm, shattering several of its scales. After this guy's body shrank, his strength and physical toughness weakened. Hong Yuntian's flesh, aura, and demonic energy can strengthen his body, but the loss of his body's essence cannot be recovered. Hearing this, Zhao Qiming's spirit was lifted. If that's the case, I'll be the human shield. Master Jin will be the main attacker. Okay. Zhao Qiming and Xiao Jin's consciousness intertwined for a while. Zhao Qiming's body, which had been sent flying, turned around and curled up into a human meatball. His limbs and torso surged with 5-colored spirit light, forming a 5-colored light membrane outside the meatball. Then, this meatball stuck to the edge of Xiao Jin's origin force field like a spherical defensive magical equipment. Every time, it would take the initiative to imprint itself on one of the demonic palms of the demonic zombie. Its body was supported by the little monkey's origin force field, so it would not be sent flying. Its body contained the power of the 5 poisons. The demonic zombie had suffered a loss once, so it did not dare to release its flesh, aura, and demonic energy. In a few breaths of time, the two sides exchanged several rounds of blows. Zhao Qiming, this 5-color meatball, was beaten into a bloody mess every time. Although his physical defense could not be compared to Pan Yan's, the cultivation technique he cultivated was transformed from a wood attribute body tempering technique. Its recovery ability was astonishing. Often, after one round of Xiao Jin's body, his flesh would be restored to its original state. However, the loss of his blood essence would become greater and greater. Hiss! The demonic zombie was caught off guard, and its chest was hit by the little monkey's whirlpool finger, opening a bloody hole. The red light in its eyes shone brightly, and it quickly retreated several meters. A layer of black light surged out from the surface of its body, and the 10 or so thick bone spurs on its 4 limbs all lit up. These bone spurs were surrounded by a conical whirlpool, as if it was imitating the whirlpool finger, wanting to increase the attack power of the bone spurs. The little monkey's pupils contracted. He actually comprehended some of the mysteries. At this time, Duan Yun's body in the air suddenly moved and dived down toward the demonic zombie. Seeing this, Zhao Qiming's figure appeared with some surprise. That's right. Martial Uncle Gene, this guy has removed the origin force whirlpool. This is our chance. The little monkey immediately understood, and its face lit up with joy and rushed out without hesitation. After fighting for such a long time, the opponent's strength had already dropped to a little over 900,000 kilograms, and the difference between the two sides was almost the same. However, the demonic zombie's 3 feet thick origin force field and the origin force whirlpool it unleashed gave Xiao Jin an endless headache. Right now, this guy seemed to want to use the whirlpool finger on top of the bone spur's explosive divine ability and shrink the origin force field. And this gap in the divine ability was the opportunity to attack. Duan Yun was the first to discover this flaw, and the hundreds of sword treasures in her body blossomed with golden light. Her speed was extremely shocking, and she was even faster than Xiao Jin by a step. Almost in the blink of an eye, she arrived 10 meters away from the demonic zombie. Her tightly clenched fist suddenly opened, and a terrifying 2 feet long golden sword chi rumbled out from within. The surrounding air seemed to have solidified, and everyone's eyes were filled with this golden light. It was the Sword Body Secret's unique battle technique, Fist Heart Sword. That incomparably solid sword chi gathered the sharp aura of all the sword treasures in her body, and through the operation of the origin force field, it condensed and compressed in the center of her fist. Duan Yun had been accumulating power for such a long time, and had already condensed this sword chi to the extreme. At this moment, she unleashed it with the power of the void, and after adding 500,000 kilograms of strength to it, it carried a terrifying might as it shot towards the demonic zombie's chest. The demonic zombie didn't seem to have expected the opponent's attack to be so ferocious, and its origin force field quickly retreated to defend, but it only had time to condense half of it before it was struck by this sword chi. Boom! The terrifying sword chi wantonly, and the demonic zombie's origin force field violently trembled. After all, its strength was 900,000 kilograms, and even if it didn't use a defensive battle technique, the obstructive power of the invisible force field was incomparably shocking. The sword chi of the fist heart sword flickered with all its might, and only after exhausting all of its power was it barely able to break through the 3 feet thick origin force field. And at this moment, the little monkey had already charged in front of the demonic zombie, and the silver specks of light condensed at the tips of his fingers. He used the whirlpool finger and fiercely stabbed at the exposed chest that wasn't protected by the origin force field. Several purplish-black scales collapsed upon contact, and a bloody hole was blasted open. The demonic zombie let out an angry roar, and the blood chi in its body churned, as if it wanted to condense its origin force field again. But at this moment, a blood-red sword chi mixed with a frightening sharpness and an evil aura that seemed to devour everything shot towards it. Its speed was even faster than everyone could react, and after it entered the bloody hole, the blood-red afterimages still hadn't dissipated. The demonic zombie's gaze froze, as if it had suffered some kind of heavy injury. The origin force field around its body shrank, and its body trembled violently, as if it had been fixed in place, unable to move for a while. Roar! The red light in its eyes flickered incessantly, and it let out a painful howl. The bone spurs on its joints, as well as the purplish-black scales, emitted a black light, as if they were about to explode. Whoosh, whoosh! At this moment, a heavy whistling sound came from the surrounding air, and 3 giant curved steels, each one 3 feet tall and 5 feet wide, shot towards them. Everyone control the 3 origin heavy steels and restrain its origin force. When the little monkey and the other saw this, they immediately understood. Each of them flashed and arrived behind the giant steels. There were 2 holes in the ground, and a round stone ball was embedded in each of the holes. They grabbed it with both hands. Under their control, the giant curved steels fell around the demonic zombie, forming a triangular formation. Boom! Several invisible force fields surged out from each of the steels. The force was extremely violent, and it seemed to crush the demonic zombie inwards. The bone spurs and scales that were about to explode violently trembled for a moment, and were firmly suppressed by this terrifying force. The demonic zombie's eyes emitted an even more intense blood-red light, as if it was venting its strength. However, the force fields pressing in from all directions weighed at least 1,200,000 kilograms, completely exceeding the level of its origin force field. After a few breaths, the devouring force in its body grew even more violent, and the demonic zombie's body began to collapse inwards. The hard bone spikes and the purple-black scales with a metallic luster all softened like candles, quickly turning into a dark black ball of flesh. The muscle fibers inside constantly twisted and trembled, and a blood-red sword chi madly stirred inside. Chapter 1209. The 3 curved boulders were the tri-origin heavy steels, a special battle treasure refined by the body refining pavilion based on the power of the 5 elements. After Lu Kuan's many improvements, this treasure was very different from before. The 5 elements formation disc inside was refined from top-grade demon bones and Lu Kuan's mid-stage bone transformation stage flesh and blood essence. The strength of the force field it radiated was no less than 1,200,000 kilograms. Moreover, each tri-origin heavy steel had a spinal control ring, which contained a trace of Lu Kuan's consciousness. Under the activation of several body cultivators' demon chi, it could adjust the strength of the force field. The supporting force field on its back was left empty. With the help of the body cultivator's origin force field, it could flexibly adjust the direction of the force field's radiation, reducing the flaws of the force field's crisscrossing edges. Duan Iyun and the others controlled the modified tri-origin heavy steel. The power it produced was almost the same as Lu Kuan's void force. It could be said that it was their biggest trump card. However, this demon zombie had an origin force field of millions of kilograms and was extremely fast. They had no chance to surround it before. Unexpectedly, when the demon sword containing demon chi and demon chi entered the demon zombie's body, the demon zombie's flesh and blood avatar suddenly stopped in midair as if it had gone mad. Only then did they seize the opportunity to trap it in one fell swoop. Even if the demon zombie avatar was in its strongest state, it couldn't break free from the pressure of 1,200,000 kilograms. Not to mention that the opponent's flesh and blood essence continued to be depleted and its strength decreased by a lot. Although they had trapped the demon zombie, they didn't dare to be careless. They stared at the twisting meatball in the middle. Hong Yuntian's demon zombie body refining technique was too strange. It might have some special divine ability. Not far away, several sword cultivators closed their eyes. Their divine sense surrounded Dugu Yiming with a strange fluctuation. They used the divine sense fusion technique to raise their divine sense to the nascent soul stage. Dugu Yiming's forehead was covered in sweat. His hands were constantly changing sword seals. Although his aptitude was astonishing and his foundation was deep, he had not entered the nascent soul stage after all. The spiritual sense and sharpness that he controlled were not inferior to that of a true nascent soul sword cultivator. His soul and meridians were constantly under great pressure. In his perception, the chi and blood demonic sword seemed to have entered a space that was filled with endless repulsive force. Every time it moved, it took a lot of energy. The demonic energy of blood chi was even more terrifying than they had expected. It possessed an astonishing devouring power, and the essence of the demonic zombie's body was constantly being absorbed by it. The 4-in-1 demonic sword of blood chi even strengthened by its size, resembling a broad and thick greatsword. However, as the essence of the demonic zombie's body decreased, the resistance to the blood and chi greatsword became greater and greater. Both Dugu Yiming and Li Qianfeng could sense that there was another type of energy here that was fighting against the blood essence. The lesser the essence of the demonic zombie's flesh and blood, the greater the resistance of this energy. Compared to this, the devouring power of the demonic zombie's chi and blood was rapidly decreasing. Bang! With a loud bang, the wriggling ball of flesh suddenly erupted with a turbulent force field. A thick long sword was squeezed out and stuck to the surface of the ball of flesh. Then, the blood-red greatsword flashed with a trace of sword light, and a gap appeared in the great 5 elements force that was squeezing the blood and chi greatsword, which had eaten its fill, shot out. The enormous ball of flesh seemed to have discovered this gap. Its muscle fibers trembled incessantly, and it tried to change shape, but the force field around it instantly returned to normal. Due to the lack of strength in its liquid form, the wriggling ball of flesh was being squeezed by the 1,200,000 kilograms of force field. Not only did it not change shape, but it was also being squeezed smaller and smaller. Duan Iyun, who was controlling the 3-origin heavy steel, saw this scene and hesitated for a moment before saying, "The demonic zombie's flesh and blood essence has almost been completely devoured by the demonic blood chi sword. Senior Hong only has the demonic blood chi devil origin left. Why don't we reduce the great 5 elements force a bit? What if Xiao Jin and Zhao Qiming also looked at the miserable state of the ball of flesh and thought of the senior's experience. They felt somewhat sorry for him and controlled the demonic blood chi in their hands to slowly reduce the strength of the three-origin heavy steel's force field. The ball of flesh that was constantly being squeezed seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. It gradually expanded until the Great Five Elements force field was reduced to 250,000 kilograms. Then it gradually twisted into a human shape. Everyone was in a hurry last time, so they didn't get a clear look at the person's appearance. Now that they looked carefully, they found that the person was completely black. He had no skin, only flowing muscle fibers. He was about 5 feet tall, and his body wasn't strong. From the twisted facial muscles, they could only tell that he was a man with a long face. However, his eyes flashed with a rich blood-red light. "Senior brother, what do we do next? Do we use the Pavilion Master's essence blood?" Zhao Qiming asked. Seeing that Li Qianfeng didn't answer, he couldn't help but look back. He saw that the bloated demonic blood sword had already split into 4, each floating in front of a sword cultivator. They were displaying sword techniques with dignified expressions, as if they were refining the remnant demonic blood chi on the sword. Li Qianfeng was sweating profusely as he stared at the demonic arm. The thick muscles on the demonic arm were fiercely contracting, and purple-black scales gradually appeared on the demonic arm's skin. He opened his mouth slightly and said with some difficulty, "The demonic corpse's flesh and blood is a bit mixed. I have to refine it as soon as possible, or it will affect the state of my body. Senior Hong shouldn't be able to escape at this time. You all have the Pavilion Master's essence blood, so try to eliminate Senior's bloodthirsty thoughts." After saying this, Li Qianfeng completely closed his eyes. The flesh on the demonic arm began to twitch and roll, and the remaining essence blood in his body churned. At the same time, he mobilized the demon stone in his ribs. Rich and pure demonic chi emerged from his body, and the purple-black scales gradually stopped growing. When Xiao Jin heard this, he didn't hesitate. He raised his monkey paw, and a jade bottle appeared above his head. He opened the bottle, and a walnut-sized ball of silver blood flew out, exuding rich blood energy. The humanoid flesh in the three-origin heavy steel seemed to sense something, and its blood-red eyes stared at the ball of silver blood. Xiao Jin waved his paw, and the ball of blood surged into the three-origin heavy steel. Under the endless force field, it turned into a fluffy silver blood mist and fell on the surface of the humanoid flesh. The humanoid flesh was covered in the silver blood mist, like tar dripping into clear water. Its muscle fibers quickly boiled, and the silver light disappeared into it at a speed visible to the naked eye. The blood-red light in the humanoid flesh's eyes dissipated by more than half, and some lively black light appeared. When Xiao Jin saw this, the small bottle above him trembled slightly, and another drop of silver blood floated over. At this time, the humanoid flesh had become much more lively, and it took the initiative to absorb the silver blood mist. The silver blood mist gathered at its head and poured into the pitch-black mouth. After a few breaths, the blood-red color in the humanoid flesh's eyes completely dissipated, and a rich black light shone in its pupils. The pitch-black mouth moved slightly, and a hoarse and ancient voice slowly came out. The voice seemed to be sighing, but also seemed to contain regret. The body refining pavilion is really powerful. Chapter 12:10. After saying this, Hong Yuntian's gaze shifted to the surrounding three-origin heavy steels. His tone was complicated as he said, "In addition to combat skills that use physical origin power, you even have this kind of magical treasure that radiates force fields. The path of cultivation, combat abilities, and a unique refining system. It's obvious that the path of flesh and blood energy is the correct path. It's a pity that those old fellows," Hong Yuntian muttered a few more words in a low voice. His gaze swept over the surrounding people, and his voice was somewhat cold as he said, "I'm not as strong as them. If you want to kill me, then do it." Zhao Qiming and Duan Yiyun exchanged glances. Li Qianfeng's voice came from afar. Senior Hong, you must be joking. You've been using your flesh and blood doppelganger to fight us. If it were your true body, we juniors would definitely be no match for you. Li Qianfeng's demonic arm had already returned to normal. The purplish-black scales on it had already dissipated, but the muscles had thickened. It looked even more ferocious than Xiao Jin's arm from before. His entire body exuded a different kind of ferocious aura. On the other hand, Dugi Yiming and the other sword cultivators were still cultivating. The remnant flesh and blood essence in the demonic blood sword was not so easy for them to refine. Hong Yuntian looked in the direction of the voice. When he saw the strange demonic arm, his pupils shrank. What on earth is this arm of yours? Its ability to devour flesh and blood demonic power is even stronger than mine. Although Hong Yuntian had been controlled by bloodthirsties while in the previous battle, he could still recall the battle memories in his spirit after awakening. The turning point of his flesh and blood doppelganger's failure was the opponent's strange flesh and blood demonic power. Li Qianfeng's figure flickered, and he arrived outside the three-origin heavy steels. He first bowed respectfully to Hong Yuntian, and then said, Junior's cultivation method is based on the foundation of the body refinement art, mixed with the profound cloud body refinement art to form a demonic body refinement art. As for this arm, it is a demonic treasure refined from demonic bones and other special materials. It is used to store demonic chi and demonic energy. As for the energy that I just released, it is the product of the demonic chi and demonic energy. Hong Yuntian murmured, demonic body refinement art, demonic treasure arm, flesh and blood demonic power. The black light in his eyes flickered. Just these few words seemed to have inspired him quite a bit. Seeing this, Li Qianfeng said in a sincere tone, Junior and the others bear no malice towards Senior Hong. Due to the sect's oath, our pavilion cannot reveal our cultivation method to outsiders. We hope that Senior can join the body refining pavilion and perfect the devil zombie body refining art together with Pavilion Master and explore the path of body refining together. Hong Yuntian remained silent and did not reject him outright like before. Li Qianfeng's eyes flashed with a hint of joy. He quickly said, Senior Hong, don't worry. We have a trace of the Pavilion Master's consciousness. He will talk to you personally. He then turned to Xiao Jin and said, Martial Uncle Jin, please activate the Divine Spine Pillar. The little monkey nodded. It controlled the steel with one paw while swinging its other paw. A faint black spine appeared beside it. This curved spine was 3 feet long. Between each vertebra, there was a trace of silver blood flowing. It gave off a strange feeling of life. Xiao Jin opened his mouth and spat out a ball of silver blood essence. Then his peak core formation divine sense spread out. The blood essence spread out and evenly separated between each vertebra. In the next moment, the blood between the vertebrae began to tremble. It gradually expanded into muscle fibers, constantly twisting and expanding, squeezing between the vertebrae. In the past few years, although Lu Kuan had not yet comprehended the body and divine sense cultivation method to the next level, he had researched many special treasures to combine them with the body at the middle stage of bone transformation. The Divine Spine Pillar was one of them. It was refined from demon bones, Lu Kuan's flesh and blood essence, demon soul wood, and other materials. It was refined with reference to the body and divine sense cultivation method. It could borrow the structure of the spine to temporarily store a body cultivator's divine sense. The spine control ring in the steel was a simple version of the Divine Spine Pillar. The force field stairs in the warrior's holy city were also inlaid with a control ring, so the strength of the force field could be adjusted to a very low level. However, this Divine Spine Pillar was different. It contained Lu Kuan's divine sense, so it was quite difficult to activate it. The little monkey's bloodline came from the same source as Lu Kuan's. Using his blood and divine sense as a guide, he was able to awaken the divine sense stored inside. Hong Yuntian's eyes were filled with curiosity. He could feel a powerful divine sense inside. This spine seemed to be refined from flesh and blood essence. The treasure refining system of the body, refining pavilion, should be related to their own flesh and blood. His demon zombie body, refining art started from the meridians. After looking at it for a long time, he couldn't discover anything. He only knew that there was no blood vitality or demonic power inside the spine. After about the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the spine gradually transformed into a pale silver pillar of flesh. At the very top, a pale purple light rose, gradually outlining the appearance of a square-faced man. This man emitted a special divine sense fluctuation. It was Lu Kuan. Lu Kuan was digesting the information sent by Xiao Jin. After a while, he opened his eyes and looked at Hong Yuntian trapped in the steel. He said with some respect, "I am the master of the body refining pavilion, Lu Kuan. Greetings, fellow Hong." Hong Yuntian narrowed his eyes and said, "This divine sense aura is really you. I didn't expect your body to become so powerful after 300 years. Lu Kuan's purple head smiled and said, "Fellow Hong's demon zombie body refining art is also amazing. Not only can you live for tens of thousands of years, but you also have a miraculous ability like the flesh clone. If you can successfully break through your current realm, your strength will probably change dramatically." Hong Yuntian sighed and said, "Everything has a price. If I don't sleep, I won't be able to truly control the origin power of my body. But the longer I sleep, the easier it is for the bloodthirsty intent of the demon zombie body to corrode me and turn me into a walking corpse." Lu Kuan nodded and said, "Ordinary silver-armored corpses will erupt after 2,000 years of bloodthirsty intent. Fellow Hong's blood vitality and demonic power are transformed from the dark demon core, so the eruption of bloodthirsty intent is much slower." Speaking up to here, he carefully looked at Hong Yuntian's humanoid flesh and said with a serious expression, "When fellow Hong fought with the disciples of the body refining pavilion, he didn't use his original demon zombie body. Is it because of the bloodthirsty intent? Or is it that the true demonic intent in that body is also troublesome for fellow Hong?" Hong Yuntian said with a complicated expression, "That demon zombie body is rather special. The true demonic intent doesn't affect it much. It's mainly the bloodthirsty intent. It's bound to the demon zombie body, and the speed at which it corrodes the soul is astonishing. I had no choice but to separate the essence of the human's flesh and blood from the majority of the soul. For the past 300 years, I relied on the flesh clone technique to parasitize the demon zombie body. On one hand, I absorbed the essence of the human's flesh and blood from these demon zombies to resist the bloodthirsty intent. On the other hand, I separated the majority of the soul into each demon zombie body. Unfortunately, the souls of these demon zombies can't resist the bloodthirsty intent for too long. Their flesh and blood will also be absorbed by the blood vitality and demonic power. If it weren't for the large number of demon zombies, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to resist until now." Hearing this, the surrounding people quickly understood. The deformed magical beasts in the magical beast garden should have been parasitized and devoured by Hong Yuntian, and the blood-red fog in the abyss was the evaporation of the dried flesh of the dead magical beasts. Lu Kuan thought for a moment and said, "These disciples have a lot of Lu's blood essence. Even if fellow Hong returns to the demon zombie body, there won't be any problems in the short term. According to Lu's speculations, this hidden danger should be completely resolved after passing the lightning tribulation." Hong Yuntian glanced at the three-origin heavy steels around him and was silent for a moment before saying, "It seems that I can only survive by joining the body refining pavilion." Lu Kuan sighed softly and said with a somewhat tired tone, "Brother Hong is greatly indebted to the derivation of the body refining art. Lu doesn't want to force you. But now, the body refining pavilion has been completely exposed to the immortal cultivation world. The body refining art has broken the traditional system of immortal cultivation, and its power is astonishing. The top immortal sects with immortal transformation stage cultivators covet it endlessly. Although Lu's methods have deterred some people, it is still difficult for two fists to fight against four hands. Moreover, even if these three disciples successfully pass the lightning tribulation, including Xiao Jin, there are only 7 nascent soul stage body cultivators in the pavilion. They are facing great pressure and the danger of being annihilated at any time. Hearing this, Hong Yuntian's eyes flashed. He didn't doubt this point. Even in the Yuan school, it was extremely difficult for body cultivators to survive, not to mention being exposed to the immortal cultivation world. Lu Kuan looked at Hong Yuntian with a sincere gaze and said, "Brother Hong's demon zombie body refining art is amazing. If you pass the lightning tribulation and resolve the hidden danger of the bloodthirsty intent, your true combat strength won't be much worse than Lu's. With your addition, the body refining pavilion strength will greatly increase. More importantly, if you and I join forces, the strength that we can display may be beyond imagination." Hearing this, Hong Yuntian was slightly taken aback. With a somewhat meaningful expression, he said word by word, "Brother Hong, have you ever thought that if your flesh doppelganger divine ability parasitized Lu's body?" Hearing this, Hong Yuntian's black pupils suddenly shrank. The surrounding disciples of the body refining pavilion also thought of something, and their mouths were slightly open and their expressions were sluggish. Chapter 12:11. Lu Kuan ignored the stunned crowd and continued. Lu has now entered the peak of the middle stage of bone transformation. His flesh and blood have become one, and his physical strength has reached an extremely high level. Although Brother Hong's vitality is strong, it is difficult to devour it. However, Lu can actively cooperate with you. His flesh and blood will fuse with your human flesh and blood essence. His blood essence can also actively provide energy. His physical strength will greatly increase, and he will be able to fully display the source power of his body. Speaking of this, Lu Kuan's face made of purple spirit light revealed a bit of fanaticism. Lu's strength has already reached 1,200,000 Jin. When he fuses with Brother Hong's flesh and blood avatar, his physical strength will greatly increase. Under the fusion of his body's source power, the range of radiation may be further expanded. Using the transcendence of heaven and earth, his control of the world's Yuan Qi, although Hong Yuntian did not understand the words middle stage of bone transformation and transcendence of heaven and earth, he understood the meaning of the fusion of source power and the control of the world's Yuan Qi. He could not help but have an indescribable desire for the next realm of body refining. However, as an elder of the Yuan school, he was unwilling to join the body refining pavilion and submit to others. All kinds of thoughts flashed through Hong Yuntian's mind. However, when he saw the hopeful eyes of the people around him, he had some strange feelings in his heart. He was the only one left in the body refining branch of the Yuan school. It had completely died out. Even though he was an elder of the Yuan school, many of his fellow disciples regarded him as a different kind of person and did not fit in. Although the cultivation path of these people in front of him was somewhat different, they were all from a body refining branch, so they naturally felt somewhat close to him. Hong Yuntian pondered for a long time, then took a deep breath and said, "Okay, I will join the body refining pavilion. I hope the devil zombie body refining art can make a further breakthrough. You should have brought the oath stone, right?" Lu Kuan looked surprised and said, "Of course we have, but Brother Hong's soul." Hong Yuntian slowly said, "The Yuan school has indeed lifted the oath restriction, but it is not what you think. Several elders and the Han family are helping us. I'll help you soak your bodies in the water of true demons." Speaking of this, Lu Kuan suddenly understood something. He hesitated for a while and said, "Does he want to use the true demon intent to resist Bloodthirsty's thought?" Hong Yuntian sighed. "It's too bad that we can't solve Bloodthirsty's mind completely. Anyway, take out your oath stones." Lu Kuan glanced at Li Qianfeng, who understood. Spiritual light flashed in his hand, and a black stone flew into the three-origin heavy steel. Hong Yuntian looked at the small stone, and when he sensed the aura it contained, his eyes flashed with surprise. "Brother Hong, There are 3 blood oaths in our pavilion's restriction system. One is, following Lu Kuan's words, a divine sense comparable to that of the nascent soul stage gushed out from the flesh of the human figure. It triggered several divine sense spells and hit the black stone. At the same time, a drop of black blood essence was condensed and merged into the stone. After a while, a profound restriction power emerged from the stone and poured into the head of the flesh of the human figure. It also contained a unique sense of madness. Feeling this, Hong Yintian was somewhat surprised. The body refining pavilion's oath stone actually contains such a powerful will. It is only a little weaker than the Yi Yuan schools, but it seems to be some kind of top demon beast. Lu Kuan saw that Hong Yintian had completed the oath restriction, and his eyes were full of smiles. He said, "This is just a stone. Our pavilion's oath mountain was transformed by a senior. I will tell Brother Hong about it in the future. You guys, release the restriction on the 3-origin heavy steel." "Yes, Pavilion Master." Hong Yintian felt that the pressure field around him was gradually dissipating. He shook his flowing muscles and snorted softly. "Let me say this first. I agreed to join the body refining pavilion only to perfect the devil zombie body refining technique. I am not your subordinate." Lu Kuan laughed and said, "Of course. Brother Hong, let's go take a look at your devil zombie body." Lu is also a little curious as to why the Chaos Valley has become like this. Hong Yintian got up and flew towards the stone forest not far away. He said, "Although the Yi Yuan school's formation has resealed the devil refining cave, for some reason, there's a problem with the restriction around it." The little monkey carried the divine spine pillar and flew side by side with Hong Yintian. It was convenient for Lu Kuan to talk to him. As for the others, they respectfully followed behind. Dugi Yiming and the others were barely able to control their blood and chi devil swords and kept up with the team. After listening to Hong Yuntian's description, they finally understood what had happened. In the past, the restriction around the devil pool at the bottom of the Chaos Valley had a problem, causing the restrictions to press against each other and eventually explode, forming an abyss. Most of the devil beasts survived, but unfortunately, his 2 devil zombie disciples were soon devoured by the bloodthirsty aura. As for Hong Yintian, he relied on his flesh clone technique to struggle at death's door until the disciples of the 2 devil sects arrived. It didn't take long for them to reach the depths of the stone forest, where they saw a devilish pool. Lying in the pool was a 9-foot-tall devilish corpse. Its bony spikes were abnormally sinister, and the remnant aura it exuded was several times more frightening than the devilish corpse from before. All the disciples of the body refining pavilion, including the little monkey, couldn't help but have goosebumps all over their body. This feeling was the same as the feeling Lu Kuan gave them. It was the oppressive feeling of a powerful body. Lu Kuan had sensed the aura of this devil zombie many years ago. After 300 years, its aura had become even stronger. Looking at the body in the devil pool, he revealed a thoughtful look and said, "The soul inside this devil zombie seems to be in a state of deep sleep." Hong Yuntian nodded and said, "In order to resist the bloodthirsty will, I had to enter a state of semi-deep sleep." Lu Kuan curiously asked, "A state of semi-deep sleep?" Hong Yuntian said, "Yes, in this state, the essence of the human race's flesh and blood, that is, the origin of blood, vitality, and devil power, is separated from the body of the devil zombie. More than half of the soul also leaves. After the origin of blood, vitality, and devil power leaves the body of the devil zombie, it will continue to devour low-level flesh and blood to maintain its vitality." Hong Yintian paused, his eyes revealed a bit of pain, and said, "The demonic beasts in the devil beast garden, as well as the 2 devil zombies, are all disciples of Yi Yuan School's body refining branch. I had to." Hearing these words, Lu Kuan sighed and said, "Brother Hong has paid too much for the devil zombie body refining technique. Only by perfecting this technique can the souls of these disciples be comforted in heaven." Hong Yuntian's black pupils flashed with unswerving determination. "I painstakingly created the flesh clone technique in order to survive. In addition to delaying the corrosion of the bloodthirsty will, this technique can also reduce the loss of lifespan by a lot. Hearing this, Lu Kuan couldn't help but think of the scene 300 years ago and asked, Brother Hong has been in a state of deep sleep for tens of thousands of years. Is it also because of the magical ability of the devil zombie body refining technique? Hong Yintian said, that is the state of complete deep sleep of the devil zombie body refining technique. The soul is transferred into the blood, vitality, and devil power, wrapping the devil zombie's body in a liquid state and using the body's origin power as a bridge to communicate with each other. This state is also quite dangerous. Because the soul is in a state of chaos, except for me, the rest of the disciples' souls are missing a lot. Lu Kuan was silent for a while and said, it seems that Brother Hong's devil zombie body refining technique is divided into 3 states: complete deep sleep, half deep sleep, and the true devil zombie state. That is Brother Hong's true combat state. Hong Yuntian revealed a somewhat proud expression. Yes, as the time of awakening increases, the degree of fusion between the blood, vitality, devil power, and the devil zombie's body increases, and the strength of the devil zombie state reaches at least 1,200,000 gene. The surrounding body cultivators all sucked in a breath of cold air when they heard this. If Hong Yintian had used his strongest state at that time, they would have been doomed long ago. Lu Kuan was pleasantly surprised. This is good. With this kind of strength, as long as the corrosion of the bloodthirsty will is resolved and Brother Hong is proficient in combat techniques, his tribulation will be almost guaranteed. That's right. Lu has a blood crystal armor magical ability that can resist the true intent of the soul formation stage. If we use this method to merge Lu's blood essence into the devil zombie's body, the effect may be even better. Next, Lu began to talk about the blood control magical ability of the devil zombie body refining technique. The other disciples also took out jade bottles containing blood essence one by one. Chapter 12:12. Outside Yi Yuan's secret territory, Qian Jingshan stood at the southeast entrance. His face was slightly pale as he gloomily looked at the pit in front of him. Su Junwen stood beside him with an equally heavy expression. As early as several months ago, both of them received a message from the disciples of their respective sects, saying that the soul lamps of the disciples who entered the secret territory were extinguished almost at the same time. Only blood-refining sects, Zhou Yu, survived. As for Qian Jingshan, his soul was damaged because of the dissipation of his soul inside the devil zombie. It took him several months to recover. Su Junwen glanced in the direction of the body refining pavilion from the corner of his eyes and suddenly transmitted his voice. Brother Qian, do you think the body refining pavilion is behind this? No matter how powerful that devil zombie leader is, it can't kill 19 disciples of our 2 sections. Qian Jingshan said, I've also heard of that little guy, Dugu Yiming. Although his strength is not simple, after all, his number is too small. The disciples of our 2 sects have more than one nascent soul level method. Su Junwen shook his head and said, in terms of strength, those 4-sword cultivators are naturally not a match for our 2 sects disciples. But what if they cooperate with that devil zombie leader? Qian Jingshan frowned. Devil zombies are creatures like zombies. They are born to devour human flesh and blood. The disciples of the body refining pavilion have abundant blood and qi. The 2 should be mortal enemies. Su Junwen continued, Brother Qian, you should have a report of those disciples 300 years ago. At that time, Lu Kuan's incarnation, Zhang Tianbiao, also discussed body refining techniques with that devil zombie leader. Lu Kuan cultivates a self-created body refining technique, while the devil zombie leader cultivates a devil zombie body refining technique. They also talked about a cloud body refining technique. It seems that there is some kind of relationship between them. Qian Jingshan had obtained the devil cultivation art and knew that the devil corpse body refining lineage of the Yi Yuan school seemed to be a dead end and could not enter the Yuanying stage. If the sword cultivator of the body refining pavilion had some special body refining secret technique, maybe he could really reach a deal with the Devil Corpse leader. He pondered for a moment and shook his head. I don't think so. I won't hide it from Fairy Sue. Master Lu and I have reached an agreement. Our two sects will exchange sect stations and form a 1,000-year friendship. Even if our disciples have conflicts, they will be limited to a certain range. Su Junwen was shocked. He hadn't expected Qian Jingshan to suddenly reveal this information. However, the location of the Blood Demon Mountain range was indeed awkward. It was sandwiched between the body refining pavilion. The sacred leader of the Yin-Yang sect felt uneasy. She felt isolated. However, just as she was about to say something, the Yi-Yuan secret realm suddenly lit up with a blinding white light. Gusts of demonic qi and spiritual qi mixed together surged out of the secret realm. A disciple is coming out. Isn't there still a month before the mystic realm closes? Not to mention Su Junwen and Qian Jingshan. The nascent soul elders of the Chamber of Commerce were also shocked. After a moment, dozens of white lights flashed, and the figures of cultivators appeared out of thin air. The rogue cultivators of the Southwest Chamber of Commerce had lost 2 or 3 people. As for the 2 demonic sects, the number of Foundation establishment disciples remained the same. However, Zhou Yu is the only core formation cultivator left. As for the disciples of the body refining pavilion, none of them had come out. It was very strange. As soon as these people appeared, they were swept away by the spirit lights of the nascent soul cultivators and away from the spiritual chi storm. The nascent soul elders of the Southwest Chamber of Commerce all asked why these people had come out early. After a moment, these nascent soul old monsters looked in the direction of the body refining pavilion and directly left with these rogue cultivators. Qian Jingshan and Su Junwen used a barrier to cover Zhou Yu and carefully asked about what had happened in the mystic realm. Following this disciple's description, the two's expressions constantly changed. After a long time, Qian Jingshan's expression was extremely ugly. Core formation body cultivators entered the second level. I understand now. These body cultivators have some kind of concealment spell and disguise themselves as Foundation establishment cultivators. They then entered the second level from the first level. Many years ago, Zhang Tianbiao was also mixed in with the Foundation establishment cultivators. No wonder old Devil Pang didn't find anything. Zhou Yu, you're really lucky. The body refining pavilion wanted someone to help them confirm the cause of death of the disciples of the 2 sections. Otherwise, you would have also died. Right? Did they fight with that monster? Zhou Yu wiped the sweat from his forehead. He felt suffocated when he recalled the situation at that time. When he heard Qian Jingshan's question, he quickly replied, reporting to Grand Elder, after this disciple left the abyss, I felt a vibration coming from there. They should have fought. Did they tell you to inform the others to leave the mystic realm a month in advance? Zhou Yu said, yes. Go and ask those Foundation establishment cultivators how they came out in advance. Yes, Grand Elder. Qian Jingshan waved his hand. Zhou Yu was swept up by a black spirit light into the crowd of Foundation establishment cultivators below. Su Junwen said, the people of the body refining pavilion called that monster Serene. The 2 sides are indeed somewhat related. However, even a peak core formation body cultivator wouldn't be a match for that monster. After all, the nascent soul-level methods of our 2 sects disciples were broken by it. Qian Jingshan sighed softly and said, Zhou Yu said that the monster ape strength was slightly higher than the monsters. It seems that the heavenly tribulation phenomenon that appeared before is related to it. Su Junwen raised his eyebrows and said, you're saying that the body refining pavilion brought a peak 7th level monster beast into the mystic realm and then broke through to 8th level? But according to what I know, even a monster beast that has just passed its heavenly tribulation needs a certain amount of time to transform its body. Qian Jingshan didn't know what to say. He sighed softly and said, the body refining pavilion's body cultivation abilities are very different from those of traditional cultivators. Perhaps the same is true for the monster beasts. As he said this, he suddenly exclaimed in surprise. He turned his head and saw two astonishing streaks of light rapidly flying over from the distant horizon. That aura, it's Yu Longfei. The other one seems to be Fairy Fong Yuan. Master Lu is overseeing this place. Why are they still coming over? Just as the two of them were surprised, Lu Kuan's cold voice sounded in their ears. The body refining pavilion has some important matters to deal with. We will seal off the area within 1,000 miles. Any cultivator that intrudes will be killed by the pavilion. Hearing the murderous words in their ears, Qian Jingshan and Su Junwen couldn't help but feel a chill run down their spines. Don't worry, Master Lu. We will leave immediately. Although the two of them were curious, they didn't dare to ask after hearing Lu Kuan's tone. They immediately left with their disciples. Qian Jingshan stood on the blood-refining sect's flying boat. He had a feeling that the body-refining pavilion's actions were related to that senior Han. That monster left the secret realm? Master Lu seems to be facing a great enemy. Could it be that the monster's cultivation was restricted in the secret realm and became even more frightening after leaving? That was his guess. In addition to the devil metamorphosis technique, he also used the devil refining art to refine the devil zombie subbody. However, this monster was easily defeated. This meant that the monster also knew the secrets of the devil refining art. It seemed that he was really an elder of the Yuan sect. Qian Jingshan couldn't imagine how this monster had managed to survive from ancient times until now. The devil zombie subbody can no longer assist in cultivation. Losing it will only result in a loss of combat power. Without a new devil zombie to refine, there is no hope of breaking through to the spirit-severing stage. He frowned. Do I have to use that backup plan? But if I fail to break through, the blood-refining sect will have no great cultivator to guard it. Qian Jingshan flew toward the Blood Devil Mountain range with his disciples with complicated thoughts. On the other side, Su Junwen was also guessing the body-refining pavilion's purpose. Last time, Lu Kuan and Yu Longfei acted together and destroyed the miraculous gate. Now that their strength has increased greatly, they will join forces again. Could it be that they want to face a greater crisis or protect something? This is obviously related to the body-refining pavilion's important secrets. This information, coupled with my investigation of the body-refining pavilion, should satisfy the conditions of the Five Spirits Temple. Thinking of this, Su Junwen's face flushed red. He seemed to be very excited. 1 Qi into 3 pure ones. That is a legendary top divine ability. Even if it is an incomplete version, it can verify my dual nascent soul cultivation method. It is definitely worth the risk. Chapter 12-13. After the disciples of the two demonic sects left, only the people of the body-refining pavilion remained near the entrance of the Yuan secret realm. They adjusted their positions so that Lu Kuan and Yu Longfei were 7 to 8 kilometers apart. They floated in opposite directions of the pit, one to the north and one to the south. Fairy Fong Yuan and Huang Xiaoyan stayed in the cloud-treading ship in the distance. Everyone silently watched the entrance of the pit with a hint of excitement in their eyes. Time flew by quickly. A month's time was nothing more than the snap of a finger for cultivators like Lu Kuan. On this day, the restriction at the entrance of the secret realm flickered wildly, accompanied by chaotic spirit winds. More than 30 white spirit lights emerged, revealing many burly figures. These were all disciples of the body-refining pavilion. There was not a single one of them missing. In addition, there was a huge demonic zombie that was nearly 3 meters tall. Its body was surrounded by a thick layer of air and emitted a terrifying fluctuation. Yu Longfei and the others felt this pressure, and their expressions changed. In their opinion, the pressure of this body was not inferior to that of Lu Kuan. Han Yintian also sensed something and turned to look at Lu Kuan. His eyes flashed with shock. Although he had guessed it, after seeing Master Lu's true body, he still felt that it was inconceivable. The qi, blood, and demonic power in his body actually condensed into his body, as if it was afraid. This was almost impossible for the evil energy that coveted powerful flesh and blood. Rumble. Following the appearance of this group of people, the cloudless sky suddenly exploded with a muffled thunder. The pit in the secret realm began to tremble violently. The chaotic storm formed by demonic chi and demonic chi flew into the sky. Lu Kuan seemed to sense the situation in Hong Yuntian's body and restrained his source power fluctuations. He raised his head to look at the thick black clouds and said in a deep voice, "Disciples who are not at the great accomplishment stage, prepare to stand guard. Disciples who are undergoing their tribulations will stand in a circle around the secret realm according to the plan." "Yes, Pavilion Master." Following Lu Kuan's words, the body cultivators all moved. Xiao Jin first flew to Lu Kuan and threw a fleshy spine to him. Then, he and Hong Yuntian scattered at the edge of the pit in the secret realm. Li Qianfeng and the other two shot to the other side of the pit. The 5 tribulation-passing body cultivators formed a circle around the 1,000-foot-long hole in the mystic realm. Each of them was 4 to 5 kilometers away from each other. The thick dark clouds in the sky were also separated into 5 parts and floated above them. 5 mysterious auras surged between the heavens and the earth. They were actually able to absorb the demonic spiritual chi from the restrictions of the secret realm. In addition, this mysterious fluctuation spread out in all directions. The demonic spiritual chi near the central continent seemed to be affected, and all of it surged, rushing into the barren land of the central continent, which was only 1,000 miles wide, like a tide, rolling up violent hurricanes. The cultivators who were close to the central continent all noticed this amazing phenomenon. They could also feel the trembling, destructive aura in the depths of the central continent. At this time, Huang Xiaoyun, Fairy Fang Yuan, and more than 20 disciples of the body refining pavilion scattered in all directions, chasing away the cultivators who were attracted by the strange phenomenon. In a moment, the divine spine pillar in Lu Kuan's hand returned to its original bone form. The soul fragment inside had been absorbed. He already knew everything that had happened in the secret realm. He looked at the sky above Hong Yuntian's head. It was dark, and the thunderclouds were thick. 1/3 of the demonic chi gathered by the laws of heaven and earth had poured into this place. Although the thunder tribulation had not yet occurred, the aura it emitted was more than twice as strong as Huang Xiaoyun and the others back then. Lu Kuan's eyes narrowed. Such thick thunder tribulation clouds are very similar to the one I went through back then. It's most likely a 9th-level thunder tribulation. However, there isn't much demonic chi in it, so it should be weaker. Brother Hong has learned almost all of the body refining techniques and body refining techniques. His combat power is more than twice as strong as before. Even if it's a 9th-level thunder tribulation, there should be a high chance that he can pass it. Thinking in his heart, he turned to look at Xiao Jin. The thunder tribulation clouds above Little Monkey were on par with Hong Yuntian's. The total amount of heaven and earth yuan chi was about the same. The only difference was that it was mixed with spiritual yuan chi and demonic chi. Little Monkey and Hong Yuntian are not humans. Moreover, they both have 9-star physical aptitude. The range of their source force field is 3 feet. They are both 9th-level thunder tribulations. If they were to undergo the thunder tribulation elsewhere, the risk would be great. However, although the power of the thunder tribulation is amazing here, the demonic chi is scarce. Moreover, many people are undergoing the thunder tribulation at the same time. The speed of the thunder tribulation is slow, so there is enough time to prepare. Xiao Jin also knows that move, but his defensive power is weaker than mine. The risk is also not small. Finally, Lu Kuan's attention turned to the 3 disciples in the distance. Zhao Qiming used the poisonous wood body refining technique as the foundation to achieve the 5 poison body. The recovery power of his physical body was extremely amazing. As long as there was enough essence blood, it was even more exaggerated than the ordinary indestructible body. The 5 poison power that he cultivated was a special kind of high-level energy. In addition, he used half a year to familiarize himself with the combat techniques. The difficulty of his Thunder Tribulation was much lower than Zhao Qingtian's in the past. On the other side, Duan Yun's physical aptitude was higher than Huang Xiaoyan's. She was also very familiar with the Fist Heart Sword. As for Li Qianfeng, Lu Kuan looked at this disciple from afar. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. This disciple who cultivated a body, refining demonic art, brought him a lot of surprises. In the previous battle in the Secret Realm, he had swallowed a large amount of the demonic zombie avatar's flesh and blood essence through his demonic chi. After refining it, this essence seemed to be very compatible with his physical body. After the research of Lu Kuan's divided soul, he found that this essence was somewhat similar to Hong Yuntian's flesh and blood avatar. It could temporarily strengthen his physical body and increase his strength and defense. Although it was only a one-time use energy, it was equivalent to having an additional trump card during the Thunder Tribulation. Time passed quickly. Although the Central Plains was barren, there were still 5 people undergoing the Thunder Tribulation at the same time. However, under the influence of the heaven and earth rules, a large amount of demonic chi and heaven and earth yuan chi still poured in. The 5 dark clouds became thicker and thicker. Within a radius of 1,000 miles, one could feel the terrifying destructive power. Muffled sounds of thunder were constantly produced, as if it would crash down at any time. At the border between the Central Plains and the Northern Plains, a looming figure was lurking in the air. This was a middle-aged man with a jade-like face and wearing a light silver robe. This person looked at the Central Plains from afar, his eyes flashing with surprise. Such a large amount of demonic chi gathering, and such a terrifying destructive power. Could it be that several demonic beasts of the body refining pavilion are undergoing the Thunder Tribulation together? Thinking of this, he frowned again. That's not right. The demonic beasts need a lot of heaven and earth yuan chi to undergo the Thunder Tribulation. It's impossible for them to choose this barren place. This middle-aged man was called Li Lanfeng. He was a late-stage nascent soul realm elder of the 5 Spirits Temple. He was proficient in wind magic and was sent by the Grand Supreme Elder to investigate the situation of the body refining pavilion. Facing a terrifying existence like Lu Kuan, who could contend with his soul formation stage cultivator, Li Lanfeng could be said to be extremely cautious. He did not step into the Wei Nation, but instead he inquired about the situation in the surrounding cultivation areas. After investigating for several years, he discovered that the body refining pavilion was actually recruiting mortals in the Jin Nation, which was east of the Wei Nation. He also studied the sacred martial token, but there was the restriction power of the Oath Stone in it, and he could not unlock it. Li Lanfeng did not alert the enemy and hid in the Jin Nation for a period of time. According to various clues, the body refining pavilion seemed to have some kind of secret technique that could allow mortals to cultivate. After Li Lanfeng discovered this, he was extremely shocked. Mortals were just like ants to them, and they never paid attention to them. Even when they recruited disciples, it was through the low-level cultivation families. But he did not expect that the body refining pavilion could actually allow mortals to cultivate. The number of mortals was too terrifying. Even if the probability of them cultivating was extremely low, in the long run, they would become a terrifying force. When he reported this discovery back to the 5 Spirits Temple, the 2 Grand Supreme Elders immediately ordered him to investigate the strength of the body refining pavilion before the Broken Nation opened. Li Lanfeng pondered for a while, then went to the Yin-Yang sect and asked for Su Junwen's help in exchange for a top-notch secret technique from the sect. This guy who is neither male nor female is quite efficient in his work. I didn't expect the body refining pavilion strength to be so unimpressive. The number of nascent soul realm body cultivators is less than 5, and the famous Master Lu is even younger than me. He thought of the information he received not long ago and was extremely emotional. In this case, as long as the 2 Uncle Masters hold back that freak, the 5 Spirits Temple would only need to send out half of their strength to eradicate this sect. The body refining pavilion has only developed for a few hundred years, and its foundation is too weak. He looked at the astronomical phenomenon in front of him, and he had a feeling that the things that happened in the middle state might be related to a secret of the body refining pavilion. He had to investigate it. But with that Master Lu personally overseeing it, if I'm not careful, I might die here. Li Lanfeng thought for a while, and a white jade talisman appeared in his hand. There were 3 wisps of clear air flowing inside, and it seemed to be full of spirituality. His eyes flashed with pain, and he gritted his teeth. His hands flashed with a spell, and the jade talisman was lightly tapped on his body. A cloud of mist surged, and Li Lanfeng's body swayed, and he actually split into 3. Every clone looked exactly the same, and even the waves of energy they emitted were the same. Then, the 3 identical figures formed a spell at the same time, and turned into 3 wisps of wind, disappearing from the spot. Chapter 12:14. The ancestor of body cultivators has not been updated today. Please wait for a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to get the latest update. Chapter 12:15. Somewhere high up in the sky of Zhongzhou, Li Lanfeng's 3 clones were circling around in the raging wind. They did not reveal any aura. This was Li Lanfeng's famous technique, invisible wind concealment. To be able to hide his body in the wind, with his cultivation level, it would be difficult for a normal cultivator to discover him. And the 1-Chi-3 clear talisman just now reduced the fluctuation of this technique by 3 times. Li Lanfeng was confident that even a spirit-severing cultivator would not be able to detect him from a few miles away. Just like this, the 3 clones went through the raging wind and floated towards the center of Zhongzhou from 3 different directions. The demonic spiritual qi was wrapped in a violent hurricane. Its speed was extremely fast. Amidst the muffled sounds of thunder, Li Lanfeng quickly saw the 5 huge dark clouds floating in the sky, covering the sun and the sky. Why is it a human? When Li Lanfeng's first clone got closer and saw the figures under the lightning tribulation, he was extremely shocked. The ones undergoing the tribulation were not demonic beasts, but 2 men and a woman. Could it be that when a body cultivator reaches a certain level, they have to undergo the tribulation like demonic beasts? Is the body cultivation technique so magical that it can cause the laws of heaven and earth to change? After a while, the other 2 clones also saw the figures under the 2 biggest clouds. A demonic monkey? Wait, that huge creature is a demon king? When he saw Hong Yuntian's demonic zombie body, Li Lanfeng was so shocked that he almost escaped from his escape technique. He participated in the battle at the core of the Broken Nation 500 years ago. The terrifying creature in front of him was covered in purple scales and had foot-long bone spikes. It looked no different from a demon king. Something is not right. Its facial lines are softer, and there is no pure demonic qi in its body. Even though Li Lanfeng was very knowledgeable, after seeing the 5 figures under the lightning tribulation, he did not know what to say. The body cultivator and the demonic monkey are fine. But what is that demon king monster? Why is it undergoing the tribulation too? According to the ancient records in the sect, even if a demon general breaks through to become a demon king, there will not be a lightning tribulation. Could it be? Li Lanfeng suddenly thought of a record about the demon race in the sect. The main supernatural powers of the ancient demon kings were similar to those of the immortal cultivators. They relied on demonic treasures and spells. Their physical bodies were only supplementary. However, there was a kind of demon race that had amazing physical talents. At the demon general stage, they could comprehend some of the demon king's physical supernatural powers. If a demon general of this level were to break through to the demon king realm, a demon calamity would descend upon the world. Their divine abilities are all focused on their physical bodies, and their combat prowess would be much stronger than ordinary demon kings. They are known as demon emperors. Could it be that this is an existence that is about to break through to the devil overlord realm? He looked at Hong Yuntian's demonic zombie body and the dark clouds in the sky that were nurturing the terrifying demonic Dao thunder tribulation. He was extremely terrified and even had the urge to turn around and run away. Rumble. At this moment, the destructive power of the 5 dark clouds reached its peak. Accompanied by thunderous booms, 5 bolts of lightning as thick as millstones blasted towards the 5 figures below at almost the same time. Li Lanfeng could feel it very clearly. Although the dark clouds were of different sizes, the power of the thunderbolt was about the same. It was equivalent to the full power of a cultivator in the early stage of the nascent soul realm. That's strange. If this is the breakthrough of a demon emperor, why would there be such a weak thunder tribulation? Could I have guessed wrongly? Realizing this, Li Lanfeng suppressed the fear in his heart. He carefully glanced at the burly man who was guarding between the 2 huge dark clouds. This person should be Master Lu. I heard that he has some kind of terrifying spiritual divine ability. The nearest doppelganger is about 10 miles away from him. It should be safe behind him. Looking at Lu Kuan's unmoving body, Li Lanfeng felt less stressed. He widened his eyes and continued to observe. My previous feeling was right. The phenomenon here is related to the great secret of the body refining pavilion. The vortex that those few people are using should be a divine ability unique to body cultivators. It seems to be different from spells. This demonic ape and the demon. Li Lanfeng was stunned. He found that the 3 humans were using some kind of vortex spell to help block the thunderbolt. However, the demonic ape and the demon stood in midair motionless, allowing the thick thunderbolt to strike them. The demonic ape was still okay. Its hair was a little burnt. However, the demon monster's purplish-black scales were unharmed. This kind of defense is at least equivalent to a demon general in the later stage. After a while, the second thunder tribulation fell. Its power was much stronger, equivalent to the peak of the early stage of the nascent soul realm. The Devil Clan monster took it head-on, without any damage. The monster ape used a similar silver vortex to defend itself. As for the other 3, they withstood the thunder tribulation. Their bodies were damaged. However, their skin and flesh were quickly recovering. This made the great cultivator of the 5 spirits temple's eyelids twitch. It should be right. The body cultivators in the body refining pavilion are the same as the demonic cultivators. They have to go through the thunder tribulation to enter the nascent soul realm. Wait, this 3rd thunder tribulation. Li Lanfeng suddenly revealed a surprised expression. That's the halo of the chi of heaven and earth. Why are the 5 thunder tribulations different? The 3rd thunder tribulation of the 2 male cultivators was still at the peak of the early stage of the nascent soul realm. However, it contained the chi of heaven and earth. The power released was difficult for even a mid-stage nascent soul realm cultivator to withstand. As for the other thunder tribulations from the dark clouds, their power was increased to the mid-stage nascent soul realm. However, compared to the thunder tribulation that contained the chi of heaven and earth, it was still weaker. Their bodies were injured in the 2nd thunder tribulation. They should only be in the early stage of the nascent soul realm. How can they withstand this kind of power? Li Lanfeng could not help but look carefully. The man with the strange arm roared. There seemed to be countless pythons swimming around his arm. The muscles all over his body swelled up. His whole body seemed to have doubled in size. At the same time, a layer of purplish-black scales appeared on the surface of the strange arm. Then, a layer of black light film appeared on the skin of the man. The air around him twisted and rippled with countless black spirals. They surged from all parts of the body to the strange arm. These black spirals gathered on the fist of the right arm, forming several black spikes that looked like joints. They fiercely attacked the thunder tribulation that contained the halo. Boom! The black spikes blasted into the thunder tribulation and exploded. Violent energy surged. Li Lanfeng could clearly feel that the thunder tribulation that contained the chi of heaven and earth had been blasted away. The remaining purplish-black lightning drowned the man. As for the other male cultivator, he did not take the initiative to attack. Instead, he crossed his arms. There were 4 5-colored vortexes in his arms. The terrifying power of destruction shrouded his body. Then, the man's body kept melting. However, Li Lanfeng could see that the flesh under his skin was intertwined and repaired under the 5-colored light. It was as if the man wanted to exhaust the power of the thunder tribulation with his terrifying recovery power. Indestructible body. But even the indestructible body of a demon beast is not that scary. These 2 guys, without using any Dharma treasures, just their physical strength alone is comparable to some powerful mid-stage nascent soul realm cultivators. Li Lanfeng's expression was solemn. If these people in front of him succeeded in their thunder tribulations, it would mean that the number of nascent soul realm cultivators in the body refining pavilion would increase. Body cultivators of this level were more powerful than nascent soul realm cultivators of the same level. Even if the Grand Supreme Elder could hold off Master Lu, they would have to pay a heavy price to take down the body refining pavilion. At this moment, Li Lanfeng suddenly realized that Lu Kuan's burly figure moved. He directly rushed into the thunderclouds above the 2 men. Is this their last thunder tribulation? Master Lu seems to be searching for something in the thunderclouds. After the 2 thunderclouds struck with the chi of heaven and earth, they quickly dissipated. However, some milky white light was absorbed by Lu Kuan's hand. At this moment, there were only 3 thunderclouds left in the sky. The demonic chi that was attracted by the heaven and earth law quickly changed direction and rushed to the remaining thunderclouds. The surrounding wind also changed. Li Lanfeng's avatar in the east did not drift with the wind. Instead, he moved to the side. He wanted to observe the 3rd female cultivator's thunder tribulation. It seemed that this body cultivator had more than 3 thunder tribulations. Squeak, squeak. But at this moment, the ape that was undergoing the thunder tribulation let out a hurried cry. Li Lanfeng was slightly taken aback. Then, he saw Lu Kuan turn his head and look at the clone. Lu Kuan's eyes shone with a dazzling golden light, making Li Lanfeng feel as if he had been seen through. Not good. Chapter 12:16. Li Lanfeng's heart skipped a beat. Without any hesitation, this avatar's body surged with an incomparably dense spiritual power as it flew madly into the distance. He had the wind attribute spiritual root, and what he cultivated was the top cultivation method of the 5 spirits temple. The wind escape technique was executed perfectly. His avatar transformed into a green escape light, and in a flash, it floated more than 10 feet away. Its speed was extremely shocking. But at this moment, Li Lanfeng suddenly felt a terrifying and sharp aura that firmly locked onto him. His divine sense could not help but explore behind him. It's not chasing me. Hey, they are. Lu Kuan flew to Yu Longfei's side. His thick palm held a sword-shaped silver blood essence. The two's nascent soul-stage divine sense seemed to be intertwined with each other, and a terrifying divine sense storm surged around them. And in front of Yu Longfei, there was a dark green ruler that was surging with dark green light. This nascent soul stage sword cultivator's hands were rapidly forming sword signs. At the same time, he opened his mouth slightly and spat out a blood essence. It was like a small blood-colored sword, and it merged with the silver blood essence in Lu Kuan's hand. This mixed blood then trembled violently and turned into a sword sign and poured into the dark green ruler. A terrifying power of chi and blood soared into the sky, and it seemed to contain an extremely sharp aura. The nearby spiritual vitality that was absorbed by the heavenly thunder tribulation, under the influence of this aura, all gathered here. In the blink of an eye, it formed a 3-feet-long greenish-gold sword outside the ruler. In this long sword of halo, The two-colored sword chi was still spiraling and intertwining. There were also countless blood chi tumbling inside, exuding a terrifying power that was comparable to the manifestation of chi. Although the two's casting speed was astonishing, but taking advantage of this delay, Li Lanfeng had already flown 20 miles away. Although it was so far away, the pressure in his heart was getting heavier, as if he was walking on the edge of death. Hiss! An inaudible whistling sound surged, and the 3-feet-long sword that exuded greenish-gold light shot forward. The air in front of it rippled, and the sword chi disappeared. Li Lanfeng was stunned, but before he could do anything, he felt the air around him distort. His wind escape technique was broken, and he fell out of the void. Then, the azure golden sword appeared behind him, as if it had teleported. The terrifying sword chi inside gave him the feeling that it was close to the power of the soul formation level. At the same time, there was an extremely sharp immortal will, which made the clone feel a bit dizzy. This power is boom! Before he could react, the light longsword had already struck Li Lanfeng's doppelganger with terrifying power. The greenish-gold sword chi burst out. The great cultivator-level defensive spirit light around him was unable to put up any resistance and was shattered. His entire body turned into specks of spirit light and dissipated into the air. Strangely enough, there was no nascent soul left behind. As for the azure golden sword, its spiritual light had only dimmed by half, and the dark green jade ruler could be vaguely seen within. The nearby wave-like demonic spiritual chi was pierced through, creating a hole that was several hundred feet long. A terrifying pressure spread out in all directions, and even the rotating thunderclouds in the sky slowed down. Huang Xiaoyan and Feng Yuan, who were patrolling in Zhongzhou, both felt the terrifying power of the sword Dao. Elder, you made a move? The aura is so terrifying. Could it be the new move he created? Someone sneaked in? Let's strengthen our defenses. Their expressions changed, and they patrolled more carefully. Almost at the same time, in other directions of the Thunder Tribulation area, Li Lanfeng's two doppelgangers were affected by something and came out of hiding. Without hesitation, he used the wind escape technique and shot in two directions. Li Lanfeng was extremely frightened. Void Spirit Sword Chi. It's the real Void Spirit Sword Chi. It said that only the ancient soul formation sword cultivators could master this kind of magic. Under the lock of their divine sense, the Void Spirit Sword Chi can travel through the void and attack enemies from dozens of miles away. It can even easily penetrate some array spirit light. It's terrifying. But the ancient soul formation sword cultivators have long declined. Yu Longfei is only at the late nascent soul stage. How can he use such a secret technique? Oh right, there seems to be a soul formation sword intent with the sharpness attribute. Li Lanfeng's forehead was covered in cold sweat. Luckily, it was only my doppelganger that was killed. If it was my original body, I'm afraid it would be dangerous. I've underestimated the other people in the body refining pavilion. With this move alone, Yu Longfei's strength is not inferior to senior brother Chung. Oh no, Lu Kuan is coming. This Master Lu's body was flashing with a shocking light. He ran in the void as if he was running on the ground. Every step he took, the surrounding air would be twisted into a blurry arc. It seemed that every step he took would cover 100 feet. At the same time, his eyes were shining with a bright golden light. He seemed to have identified one of the doppelganger. His speed was even 20% faster than the wind escape technique. Feeling Lu Kuan's terrifying speed, Li Lanfeng's face darkened. He thought to himself, how did this guy identify the real body? I'm definitely not his opponent. Now that things have come to this, I have to send the information of the body refining pavilion back to the sect. With a thought, his doppelganger that was flying in another direction turned and flew towards his original body. Li Lanfeng was using the One Qi San Qing talisman that was kept in the Five Spirits Temple. It could create two doppelganger with the same strength with the help of the divine sense of the three doppelganger. Although the duration of the talisman was limited in this period of time, It was equivalent to 3 land fangs fighting at the same time. Almost no cultivator of the same level could defeat him. However, in the face of this famous Master Lu, he had no intention of fighting back. He wanted to sacrifice one of his doppelganger to buy time. As long as he could return alive, not only would the Grand Supreme Elder not blame him, he might even be rewarded. Just like this, in the rolling thunder of Zhongzhou, Lu Kuan and Li Lanfeng, one running and the other chasing, flew towards the north of Zhongzhou. On the other side, Yu Longfei was floating in midair. The jade ruler that was flashing with green and gold sword radiance reappeared in front of him. Who is this guy? He has 3 identical bodies, and they all have the aura of the advanced nascent soul stage. Such a miraculous doppelganger technique. Could he be a cultivator from the Great Zhou dynasty? Yu Longfei thought that this attack would be enough to kill his opponent. He did not expect it to be just one of his doppelganger. Maybe there are still enemies watching. This is a trick to lure the tiger away from the mountain. Yu Longfei continued to use the sword technique in his hand to control the dark green ruler. The surrounding spiritual qi slowly gathered, but the speed of gathering was half of what it was before. Streaks of invisible qi spread in all directions. It was as if all the air within dozens of miles was locked. This divine ability was a sword Dao divine ability that Yu Longfei had refined using the dark green ruler in his hand as a medium. Tai Void Spirit Sword Qi. The Sky Sword Pavilion inherited the legacy of his Soul Formation Sword Cultivator. Naturally, they knew of the ancient Soul Formation Sword Cultivator's superpower. The Void Spirit Sword Qi was a horrifying secret technique that could pierce through the void and kill people instantly. Yu Longfei never thought that he would be able to use this kind of superpower until Lu Kuan gave him the dark green ruler. This spirit treasure replica was made from Tai green rock. It was born with the ability to produce Tai green light. It had an invisible power and was extremely condensed. It was almost the same as the legendary Void Spirit Sword Qi. Yu Longfei suddenly had an idea. If he used a sword technique to catalyze it, would he be able to turn the Tai green light into the real Void Spirit Sword Qi? In the end, he discussed with Lu Kuan and Huang Xiaoyan. The 3 of them concluded a secret technique called Blood Spirit Sword. It could use the power of essence blood to condense the sharpness of a sword cultivator and add it to the dark green ruler. It could then turn the Tai green light into the legendary Void Spirit Sword Qi. However, this kind of superpower required Yu Longfei and Lu Kuan to work together. Other than using the powerful essence blood of a body cultivator, they also needed to use the sharp intent of the Sky Sword Valley. Yu Longfei took a deep breath and stabilized his mind. He continued to control the Tai Void Spirit Sword Qi that had its power reduced by half. Although there wasn't much sharpness left in it, it still had the power to attack. This Tai Void Spirit Sword Qi's power is close to the manifestation of vitality. It could travel through the void for a full 15 miles. No nascent soul stage cultivator can escape from this range. Chapter 12:17. Yu Longfei's great cultivator level divine sense locked onto the fleeing figure in the distance. He held a sword spell in his hand and judged the right time to attack. This person's wind escape technique is very mysterious. Even if I use the human sword escape technique, I still can't beat him. However, with the Pavilion Master's speed, it's only a matter of time before he catches up. Originally, the 2 doppelgangers fled separately. Now, one of them is rushing to help. It's obvious that the Pavilion Master is chasing after the original body. This guy's Abhijna is very mysterious. The Void Spirit Sword Qi's power has been reduced by half. It might not be able to kill the original body. When the Pavilion Master gets closer, the aura of hundreds of sword treasures. Huang Xiaoyan is coming from the outside. Yu Longfei's divine sense scanned the sky dozens of miles away. There seemed to be no movement there, but with the Void Spirit Sword Qi, he could sense that there were many sword treasures there. It was obvious that Huang Xiaoyan was hiding there. He glanced at Lu Kuan's speed again, and the sword spell in his hand directly changed. The vigorous spiritual power in his body poured out, and the green-gold halo sword in front of him shot out with a hum, disappearing into the twisted air. At this time, Li Lanfeng had already flown more than 20 miles away. He felt the ripples in the surrounding void again. His body staggered and fell out of the void. The wind escape technique was broken again. He squinted his eyes and seemed to be prepared. A blue round shield appeared in front of his chest. A dense spiritual pressure spread out from it. The surrounding spiritual essence gathered and condensed into a thick layer of blue flowing water. It wrapped around his body. The spiritual essence of heaven and earth emitted from it was much stronger than ordinary great cultivators. As soon as he finished all this, a long sword emitting green-gold light appeared from the void. Boom! The terrifying dual-colored sword Qi and the blue halo intertwined with each other. The jade ruler inside collided with the blue round shield. An astonishing shockwave spread out in all directions. The demonic spirit Qi that was attracted by the thunder tribulation was shaken and tumbled backwards. Li Lanfeng's expression was solemn. He channeled his spiritual energy into the shield, and the shield emitted rings of blue light to fight against the sword Qi that was as powerful as primordial Qi. After all, the void spirit sword Qi had already been used once, and its power had been reduced by half. The two sides were in a stalemate for a few breaths before the void spirit sword Qi completely collapsed. After the dark green ruler lost its spiritual light, it shot towards Yu Longfei, who was dozens of miles away. It seemed to have completed its mission. Luckily, I have the water shield given to me by the Great Elder. It contains a strand of water Jin Yuan. Otherwise, even if I didn't die, I would have been severely injured. Wait, why is there a strand of sword Qi? Before Li Lanfeng could breathe a sigh of relief, he saw a dazzling golden sword light appear not far away. Even with his divine sense as a grand cultivator, he did not notice it before. This sword light contained a thick and sharp aura. It was as if hundreds of sword treasures were merged together. However, the power it contained was only at the mid-nascent soul stage. Li Lanfeng frowned. He sensed that Lu Kuan was getting closer and closer. He continued to place the water shield in front of him. The spiritual energy in his body surged. He planned to ignore this weak attack and use the wind escape technique again. Who knew that the air around him suddenly became dense? Waves of pressure surged towards his body. The green light around Li Lanfeng's body flickered. His wind escape technique was not successfully activated for a moment. In this moment of delay, the huge golden sword light rushed towards him. Li Lanfeng then realized that this sword light that contained a huge amount of sharpness was actually a man. He saw this man put his hands together. The golden light around his body flowed towards his arms and finally gathered at his fingertips. His hands were like sharp daggers. Dang! This fingertip dagger was blocked by the extremely agile aqua shield, making a crisp sound. The shield only shook a little before it easily blocked the dagger. Then, a blue light shone brightly, and a terrifying pressure blasted the human-shaped sword light away. At the same time, there was a circle of blue light surging in all directions. The dense air around him instantly broke. The feeling of the void ceiling disappeared. Li Lanfeng once again raised his spiritual energy. Rumble, who knew that at this moment, a magic treasure that looked like a black brick would come from afar. Not only was its speed shocking, but it also seemed to contain a terrifying amount of brute force. Before it even got close, the surrounding air vibrated violently. It was like circles of ripples, rippling in all directions. In the blink of an eye, this brick arrived in front of Li Lanfeng. The latter did not even have time to react. He barely managed to put the water shield in front of him. Bang! With a loud bang, Li Lanfeng could only feel a continuous surge of vibrating power. Even with the protection of the aqua shield and the protective spiritual light, a small amount of this power still entered his body, causing his meridians to tremble. His mana could not help but shrink. The wind escape spell that he just used was interrupted once again. He could not even use his spiritual energy. Oh no, Lu Kuan is caught up. Li Lanfeng's eyes were filled with fear. After a few rounds of attacks, the owner of the body refining pavilion had caught up to him. The muscles on the opponent's body had swelled up. He looked like a deformed meatball. His arms were like giant pillars that supported the sky. They were covered in black and white halos. The fingers in front of his arms were interlocked and turned into a fist the size of a watermelon. The black and white halos intertwined violently on top of it, exuding a terrifying aura of destruction. As a top cultivator, Li Lanfeng could naturally see that Lu Kuan's body was condensed with both demonic and spiritual qi. The concentration of the demonic and spiritual qi was not something that a late nascent soul stage cultivator could compare with. His face was extremely pale. Fortunately, the water shield was a treasure given by a soul formation stage cultivator. Even without the support of spiritual energy, it could spontaneously gather the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. It emitted a faint halo and charged towards the huge Dahe shadow. Boom! Li Lanfeng's eyes bulged. He could only feel a suffocating force surging towards him. At the same time, it was mixed with a destructive aura. The combined power of the two had almost reached the peak of the late nascent soul stage. What made him even more terrified was that the spiritual qi of heaven and earth absorbed by the water shield was somehow cut off halfway and rushed towards the opponent's arms. Even his protective spiritual aura was rapidly weakening. Under this situation, the two sides were in a stalemate for a moment. The terrifying fist knocked the water shield away and shattered its protective spiritual aura. At this critical moment, Li Lanfeng's eyes flashed with a trace of determination. A terrifying force surged out of his nascent soul. The originally silent spiritual energy began to fluctuate violently. Boom! The violent force wantonly rushed out. The rich green light soared into the sky. Lu Kuan's burly body seemed to be in the middle of a terrible hurricane. Countless wind blades slashed towards him. The remaining halo on his arms dissipated. Even his tough skin began to show wounds. At the same time, dozens of green silk threads shot out from the turbulent green hurricane and scattered in all directions. Moreover, each of these green silk threads seemed to have the ability to teleport. Accompanied by countless spiritual lights, they flashed more than 10 feet away. Nascent soul, self-explosion. What kind of supernatural power is this? Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with a golden light. He was surprised to find that each of these green silk threads contained the power of the soul. It seemed that the nascent soul was divided into dozens of parts by some kind of secret technique. Although he encountered a strange change, his reaction was extremely fast. The demonic energy in his body surged. At the same time, both of his hands reached forward. Entering the middle stage of the bone transformation stage, the power of the void had reached 20 feet. An invisible force field appeared in the distant air. 3 or 4 green silk threads were directly bound, but who knew that the soul inside would fluctuate and self-explode, revealing 2 broken storage bracelets. Lu Kuan's eyes darkened. His body flickered, and he was about to chase after Li Lanfeng. However, at that moment, a green wind flashed past. Li Lanfeng's other avatar had caught up with him. His qi was raging, and he exploded just like the nascent soul. Once again, a terrifying hurricane was created. Lu Kuan's body, which was just about to fly away, was wrapped by this self-explosion hurricane. The power of a great cultivator's self-explosion was no small matter. Even with Lu Kuan's current physical body, he couldn't help but stagger a few steps. There were many more wounds on his skin. At this time, at the center of the central state, a unique destructive wave came out. Lu Kuan couldn't help but frown. Duan Iyun's last thunder tribulation. He glanced at the dozens of green silk threads again. In the blink of an eye, they had escaped 1,000 feet away, and they were extremely scattered. Even if he could catch up, he wasn't sure he could take them all down. He shook his head and looked at the golden figure not far away who wanted to chase. This guy's physical body is damaged, and his nascent soul is divided. Even if he escapes, his rel will regress. You continue to guard the periphery. Yes, master. Lu Kuan waved one hand and put away the 2 broken storage bracelets and the aqua blue shield in front of him. Then, he blasted in the direction of the tribulation cloud. Chapter 12:18. Near the entrance of the Middle Continent secret realm, there were only 3 huge thunderclouds left in the sky. Countless demonic aura clouds formed 3 thick ribbons converging here. The tribulation cloud above Duan Iyun had turned into a black vortex at this time, blooming with a hazy halo and a terrible pressure spread out. This female body cultivator was the same as Pan Yen. They both had a 6-star physique, and the power of the tribulation thunder was the same. The last tribulation thunder not only contained the destructive power of the peak of the nascent soul realm, but also the chi of heaven and earth. It was even close to the attack power of a great cultivator. Duan Iyun looked dignified, and the bones all over her body made a buzzing sound, like countless sharp swords were trembling. Golden threads gushed out from countless sword treasures, and with the help of source power, they converged to her arms. She put her hands in front of her chest, clenching her fists. A walnut-sized pale golden stone floated in her hands. Tiny bright golden lights flowed out of it and converged with the surrounding sharp power, forming a golden silk ball. This small ball was squeezing inwards at the same time. Facing such a tribulation thunder, the attack power of the fist heart sword is somewhat insufficient. But this Gingjin stone still has some sharp power left. If it combines with the fist heart sword, the power will definitely increase a lot. Duan Iyun stared at the clouds above her head, and her clenched fists gradually closed, pressing the golden silk ball into her palms. The sharp aura in her fists became thicker, as if it could tear the air apart. Some cracks appeared on the skin of her palms of the bone transformation realm body cultivator, revealing the flesh inside. The golden silk threads outside her body were getting fewer and fewer, and they all converged to her hands. Rumble, accompanied by the sound of thunder, a thunderball fell from the 3 tribulation clouds at the same time. But the power of the tribulation thunder above her head was the most shocking, and it was wrapped in a layer of dark golden halo. Duan Iyun narrowed her eyes, and her right fist suddenly clenched. She took it away from her left hand and put on her waist. This fist kept trembling slightly, and it was covered with a layer of blood aura. Her skin was constantly cracking and healing, and she was under great pressure. The dark golden halo thunderball was getting closer and closer. 400 feet, 300 feet, 200 feet, 10 feet. Now, Duan Iyun's waist shook. Her right fist fiercely hammered upwards from her waist. Using the strength of her whole body, she pushed the speed of this punch to the fastest. The moment his fist was about to reach his head, his 10 fingers suddenly opened. His physical body's origin energy quickly transformed into void energy. Like an invisible hand, he held a 3-foot-long, bright, golden short sword and fiercely stabbed at the lightning bolt dozens of feet away. Zila, the astonishing sharpness collided with the violent, destructive power, and the dark golden lightning ball was instantly torn apart, allowing the golden dagger to pierce through. Crackle! The power of the void rippled, and the dagger, which was filled with sharpness, exploded, turning into countless tiny strands of sword chi that wreaked havoc within the lightning ball. A terrifying aura rippled out into the surroundings, even surpassing the pressure of the other 2 tribulation clouds. Duan Iyun had a mysterious gold body, which had a certain degree of enhancement to her metal attribute abilities. Moreover, this fist heart sword was mixed with the sharp power of the aged metal that only top sword cultivators could control. The explosive power was several levels higher than that of Huang Xiaoyan's. In just 1 or 2 breaths of time, the destructive power of this thunderball was shattered into pieces by the terrifying sword qi. The heaven and earth yuan qi had no more energy to attach to it, and all that was left was the sparse dark golden lightning. After Duan Iyun withstood the residual destructive power, she felt a rich life force pouring into her body. Her face revealed a relieved expression. I didn't expect that with the help of the sharp energy in the aged metal stone, the power of the fist heart sword would be so terrifying. Although it doesn't have the support of the world's origin energy, its extreme sharpness can even penetrate the attacks of great cultivators. If the aged metal stone is refined into all the sword treasures, wouldn't the strength of these sword body art disciples be further enhanced? While Duan Iyun was going through the tribulation, Lu Kuan had already returned. He flew into the sky and used his ability to absorb the remaining life force in the lightning tribulation while sighing in his heart. Unfortunately, this material is too rare. Except for the collection of the miraculous gate, the body refining pavilion only got a small walnut-shaped piece. If I want to refine all the sword treasures, I'm afraid that a watermelon-sized aged metal stone is not enough. After a while, after Lu Kuan collected the life force in Duan Iyun's tribulation cloud, he landed beside the disciple who had integrated the life force and looked in the direction of Hong Yuntian and Xiao Jin. The little monkey had already used its arm connection ability, increasing its strength to 900,000 Jin. Coupled with its body cultivation battle technique, Hong Yuntian was still the same as before, not feeling the slightest bit of pressure even after suffering some minor injuries from the fifth lightning tribulation. Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with a look of contemplation. Li Qianfeng and Zhao Qiming have a 3-star and 4-star physique respectively. Their lightning tribulations are all 3 levels. Little Yun has a 5-star physique and faced 4 levels of lightning tribulations. Duan Iyun and Pan Yin have a 6-star physique and face 5 levels of lightning tribulations. It seems that the pattern of the lightning tribulations is very clear. The lowest is 3 levels of lightning tribulations. As the physique improves, the number of lightning tribulations will also increase, but it will be 1 level less than the number of stars of the physique. I am the first body cultivator. Every 3 lightning tribulations will be blessed with the qi of heaven and earth. There are a total of 9 levels. Although Xiao Jin and Hong Yuntian also have a 9-star physique, their previous lightning tribulations did not contain qi of heaven and earth. From this, it is likely that there are only 8 levels of lightning tribulations. The real danger is the last one, which is comparable to the terrifying attack of a peak great cultivator. Lu Kuan looked at Hong Yuntian and Xiao Jin not far away and narrowed his eyes slightly. Needless to say, Hong Yuntian's strength is more than 1,000,000 Jin. He can already use the severing fist combat skill. He can completely resist the attack of an ordinary great cultivator, not to mention that the demonic zombie body also has a strong defensive power. As for Xiao Jin, since his supernatural power talent can use the connecting arm's supernatural power, then my other supernatural power should also be able to be used. Otherwise, this little guy would not be so calm. At this moment, Li Qianfeng and Zhao Qiming flew over with a look of excitement. Pavilion Master, we succeeded. Lu Kuan looked over, and the corner of his mouth revealed a satisfied smile. These 2 disciples only encountered 3 lightning tribulations. At this time, they had completely stabilized their demonic energy and officially entered the early stage of bone transformation. Zhao Qiming's body was filled with rich vitality, giving a feeling of endless vitality. However, under this flesh and blood, there was a bone full of terrifying poison. In Lu Kuan's opinion, the toxicity of the 5 poisons combined into one was even stronger than the poison refining pavilion Saint Poison. This kind of disciple, with a combination of recovery power and poison, might be able to derive a unique fighting style. As for Li Qianfeng, this disciple who cultivated the demonic body refining art, his body had returned to normal. The muscles on his left demonic arm and body were equally sturdy and well-proportioned. Lu Kuan curiously asked. Qianfeng, after the life force entered your body, what is the state of your demonic energy and blood demonic energy? Li Qianfeng excitedly said, reporting to Pavilion Master, as we guessed before, the energy bestowed by the heavenly tribulation has balanced my blood demonic energy and bone demonic energy. More importantly, it has greatly improved my control over my blood demonic energy. Now that the life force has joined, the demonic energy will not be absorbed by the blood demonic energy. They have formed a balanced state, and the essence of the flesh and blood has been released. The strength of the body has returned to its peak. At this point, he paused and said, if this disciple's judgment is correct, this state is equivalent to the combat state of an orthodox body refining art. As for the cultivation state, Li Qianfeng hesitated slightly and said, it should be transferring the life force into the demonic treasure, allowing the blood demonic energy to devour the demonic energy. Due to the increase in my control, I can use the demonic energy to enhance the flesh and blood essence of the blood demonic energy. This is the general direction of an orthodox body refining art, which is to increase the strength of the muscles in the early stage of bone transformation. However, this disciple only has a few clues as to how this cultivation state should be carried out. I'm afraid I'll have to experiment. Lu Kuan gently nodded. He glanced at Li Qianfeng's demonic arm and was about to say something when he suddenly sensed something. He turned his head and looked in the direction of the tribulation cloud. What's going on? Xiao Jin, that you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.